The undead are beings that never truly die, and for them, creatures like immortals who escaped the life and death cycle, taking over a small dimension wouldn't be much of a challenge. Conquering the place known as planet Earth was just a matter of time, or at least that's what they thought. The big skeleton points demanding to know how that could be possible. He was just an ordinary human, so how was he still alive? The protagonist steps out from the flames and says he'll explain. It's probably because he's tougher than they are, and with that, bam, he slams a punch right into the skeleton's chest. But before we get to that, let's rewind to 2 years earlier. Someone inside a room says they can't take it anymore. She says she let him stay for a while because he said he was going to look for a job, but instead he spends all day playing video games and drinking. If he was going to live like that, then he might as well go back to his parents' house. Our flushed-faced protagonist tries to explain that going back to his parents at his age isn't an option, but the girl says it's even worse that he's relying on his younger sister. He walks into the room without saying anything while she keeps going, saying he should at least use that little allowance he gets to go job hunting and stop being a burden. The guy just shuts the door, takes a deep breath as he listens to her going off. He flops onto the bed and tells himself Kang Hyun is pathetic. Why was he living like this? The only thing he'd managed to do since coming to Seoul was land a one-week gig at a big company, then he got fired. At this point, even a part-time job moving boxes would be something just to earn a bit of money. He notices the computer's still on and mumbles that life would be way easier if it worked like a video game. At least in games, he was good, and it'd be easy to get a decent job. He'd get to choose between being a warrior, a swordsman, and in the middle of all that daydreaming, he dozes off. Out of nowhere, a bunch of system windows pop up. A connection to a dimension called Heikan is detected. While our boy is still snoozing, the message says the connection has been temporarily denied and that the tutorial will begin on Earth. Kang opens his eyes and when he looks around, he finds himself floating in some kind of void. And right in front of his eyes are those little words just hanging in the air. The message says that full connection to the Heikan dimension will take 4 years and 364 days. Then it welcomes Kang Hyun to the tutorial. There would be a total of 8 stages and this was just the first. Dying there wouldn't affect reality, but at the same time, if he gave up or failed, there'd be no second chances. And whoever finished the tutorial would get an awakening and a bonus reward. You could call the FBI on this guy seriously. The first thing he imagines is some level 98 loli calling him to connect, and the idiot actually blushes, realizing his gaming addiction is really starting to mess with his brain. Only in that moment, he kinda wakes up to reality, which, well, isn't really reality. Right? Because now he's convinced this is a dream. Poor guy has no idea that none of this is a dream or actually is it. Now I'm confused too. Anyway, he starts getting transported to stage 1 and the system wishes him good luck, hoping he can save Earth. He's standing there, confused like, what is this about saving the Earth? The final message just says that once he reaches the destination, they'll have to cross to the other side of the bridge. Failure condition, death. Before he can even figure out what bridge they are talking about, boom, he's teleported and you can see the reflection of flames in his eyes. That's because, my friend, he just landed in a full-on Murby's challenge, but, yeah, dropped right into lava and died on the spot. He looks around trying to understand what's going on and whether that was really lava. The heat, though, was very real. Looking around, he sees a bunch of people and tries to figure out what's happening. He's sure he was just at home. While he's thinking this dream is ridiculous, someone calls out his name. And, bam, it's the same girl who just finished chewing him out earlier. Our boy is Kang Kyun and she's Kang Naeun. Korea, and it's amazing naming choices. He wants to know what the hell she's doing there. And the very first dream he's had this year is ridiculous. She snaps back that he's not the one who decides that. At the same time, though, she's asking herself if this really is a dream. She saw a bunch of messages talking about saving Earth or something like that. Kang calls her name and says, Kang Ion, stop pretending this is your dream, girl, because it's mine. She replies that that's not the point. Also, the lava wouldn't be that hot if this were a dream. How could a conversation this normal be happening in someone's dream? Nothing makes sense. He laughs and says the brain is easy to trick. Nobody ever really knows if a dream is real or not. Besides, you can feel pain in dreams. Anyone who says you can is lying. For example, he's had plenty of dreams where he peed himself but woke up completely dry. His sister congratulates him on having the guts to say something like that out loud. He just brushes it off and starts walking, saying he's heading out. She asks where he thinks he's going. He says it's obvious. He's going to cross to the other side of the bridge just like the challenge said. Of course, since this is his dream, an NPC like her wouldn't know about it. She roasts him, saying she does know, actually. And, also, he needs to stop calling her that this is her dream. What really surprises her, though, is that he's not even scared of falling and dying. He says she's being dumb. If he dies, he'll just wake up. But right in the middle of the sentence, a body flies between them. When he looks down, oh boy, the guy falls, starts melting, writhing in pain, and both of them are shaking just watching it. The smell of burning flesh hits them, and she asked what he was saying again. Now they are both trembling. He says that scream sounded really realistic, but he's not scared. Not at all. His sister sighs and says he really is an idiot. He better crouch down and crawl. It's way safer that way. He's standing there pretending not to be scared, but a few minutes later, everyone else is moving forward, and the two of them are crawling right along. On the way, she asks what he thinks is going on. Do you have any idea? He says he's sure it's just a super realistic nightmare, to which she tells him to wake up and get real. There's no way a dream or nightmare could feel this real. Something was happening that they couldn't even begin to understand. And maybe if they died here, they really would die in real life. Kang laughs and says, girl, I'm trying not to think about it, but you keep talking, and now I'm scared out of my mind. She sees right through him. The bastard was just pretending to be calm. He's totally useless. He collapses face first and asks if they can stop for a second so he can rest. Not because he's shaking and afraid of dying. No, of course not. It's just that he's tired. That's all. She asks if he plans to just lie there like an idiot, and he tells her she needs to understand. There was still a small chance this was just a dream until that little system window popped up in front of them again. The set time for the tutorial had run out, and because of that, the difficulty was going to increase. Suddenly, the whole place starts to shake. I'm honestly impressed some people were still standing there like it was nothing. But to be fair, that bridge isn't that narrow. Right? You could fit both feet side by side, legs spread a bit. I'd be fine crossing it. Just don't put me there, please. Anyway, the part of the bridge behind Kang starts crumbling. Everyone's bridges are breaking apart now. It's chaos. No way around it. Seriously, Ayun, that girl, shot up and turned into Usain Bolt, left behind nothing but a blur. Our boy didn't have much choice, so he had to do the same. He's running and thinking he's okay. The bridge wasn't even that thin to begin with. As long as he doesn't trip, he'll reach the end just fine. Just focus on the ground and look straight ahead. I feel like I'm watching Squid Game here. He's almost at the exit. He can see it on the other side. He's already celebrating, thinking this is about to be over. But then he glances to the side, and the bridge beneath his sister is starting to collapse. He calls out to her. She looks down, but it's already too late. Still, the guy's got that chat energy. He'd been scared this whole time, but now the courage kicks in. He jumps across, grabs her, and throws himself to the other side with her in his arms. He saved the girl. Right after that, a message pops up saying they leveled up and cleared the first stage. They would be temporarily awakened as a reward, though their full awakening would only happen once the tutorial was over. Kang Hyun stretches and says it's finally over. He could barely move from the fear. Meanwhile, his sister is more interested in this whole awakening tutorial. What even is all this thing? He tells her she should be thanking the guy who saved her, honestly. But she ignores that, distracted by a status window popping up. Kang says a status window is the #1 thing anyone would want to receive on their birthday. Gamer instinct stronger than fear. He jumps right up to check it out. I can already see there's a resurrection trait or something, but no abilities, no skills, and the stats don't look very high either. And before we get to see the rest, boom, he wakes up in the same old bedroom. Looks like it's the next day, and now he's convinced it was all a dream. But, of course, the internet is blowing up with talk about this strange dream. Some people saying it was the weirdest lucid dream they've ever had. Others talking about how real the sensation of dying felt. Naturally, with so many people sharing the same story, everyone's weirded out. Humans being humans, though, they are already having fun with it. Throwing out hashtags, launching meme coins, and honestly, that's probably exactly what would happen if something like this were real. What they are forgetting is that the full connection is still 5 years away. Back with our guy, he opens the door and immediately starts arguing with his sister. They are both talking over each other, going on about the status window, the challenge, who died, who didn't. She yells at him to shut up. He tells her the same. They both end up exhausted and quiet and wonder if maybe he should just eat first. Meanwhile, social media is in a frenzy. End of the world, shared dreams, lucid nightmare. What the hell just happened? The two siblings hear all of this and now they know for sure it wasn't just them. This thing happened all over the world. Kang says at least it's a relief that dying in the dream didn't affect anyone in real life, but she says it was terrifying either way. Watching those people, carts and all, die and burn right in front of her was too much. At the very least, anyone who died like that must be traumatized now. She's wondering if it's even okay for them to just sit there eating so casually. It felt like the whole world was losing its mind. Kang thinks for a moment and says there's not much else they can do. That's when he hears screaming from outside. So he decides to go check it out. When he looks out the window, there's a crowd of people fighting, apparently right in front of a grocery store. They are already tearing the place apart, looting, yelling about some kind of apparition. What's even happening? Did the whole world go insane overnight? To be honest, I saw the news coming from the US. People over there seem to be acting the same way. So yeah, it's feeling pretty realistic. His capitalist sister is upset that she won't be able to go to work today, and he tells her to get real. Like, they were just going to walk outside, but it's nothing. No way. It's way too dangerous to be out now. They needed to remember everything that message said about the Haken connection. Right then, the sister tells the status window to open, and it pops up immediately. He comments that he still has no idea what it really means, but one thing is clear. Whatever's coming, they've got 5 years to prepare. And just seeing the chaos on the streets on day one, it's already obvious that this won't be easy. His sister's just thinking to herself that this idiot is, for once, actually making some sense. After all the madness in the morning, things seem to calm down. People go back to their normal routines and South Korea starts settling down again. And with that, the first day ends. But the moment he closes his eyes, the system window pops up again, welcoming him back to the tutorial. He asks if he wants to learn how everything works, but he says no. He just wants to see his status screen. The guy came nerfed, my god, came high in 8 in strength, 9 in agility, and 1 bonus ability. He's trying to figure out if that's good or bad, but, honestly, you need comparisons to know that kind of thing. What catches his eye, though, is that he has a magic power stat. And on top of that, he sees a very interesting word, innate ability, resurrection. Now I'm confused. So that resurrection skill isn't part of the tutorial. It's actually his. The ability allows him to come back to life 24 hours after dying, and it stays active until the world exits the current crisis. Ah, now it makes sense. It's like a Minecraft spawn point. He revives at the last bed, or rather the last place he slept. Unless he picks a new spot, the penalty is that he loses 1 level each time he dies, and his stats drop by 50% for 24 hours. This bastard's already hyped celebrating. He's sure he won't be some useless side character with a power like that. The moment the system asks if he wants to move on the stage 2, he says yes. He needs to find out right away if his stats are actually low or high. The story says he was really celebrating that resurrection ability, but he had no idea what was coming next. Inside a blood-stained castle, a goblin screams and charges right at him, aiming for his head. But the sneaky little green thing dodges. The system announces that in stage 2, he'll have to defeat all enemies to prove his strength. Luckily, the guy's got experience. He's played tons of games before. So he picks up on the goblin's pattern and lands a clean hit. The creature's all covered in blood, its weapon dripping, while Kang Hyan is shaking from the feeling of having just killed a living thing. He was about to throw up, and the only reason he didn't die is because that thing was trying to kill him too. He keeps moving forward, and from behind one of the walls, a massive goblin is watching him. The moment he spots it, our boy freezes. The big one sees that its buddy got killed behind its back. It starts walking forward, and Kang wonders why there are already 2 enemies right at the start. We are goblins supposed to be small, easy targets for beginners. But this thing's holding a sword that's at least 1 meter long. The monster lets out a roar and swings, landing a direct hit on his hand. He manages to block, but it leaves him completely shaken. The guy's never been to the gym, and all he ever did was sit at home playing games. So when that 1 meter sword collided with his barely 70-kilo frame, it instantly knocked his weapon out of his hands. And, of course, the goblin kept going, slicing upward with his blade, cutting the poor guy open. He took a brutal combo right there. With his vision all blurry and his whole body shaking, he asks why he has to go through something like this. And honestly, the weirdest part is that he doesn't even know why he hasn't died yet. Yeah. Seriously. No one's going to give him a heads up on that. Maybe it's because of that resurrection ability. Though now I'm confused too. Resurrection means you die and come back, not like you're immortal. While being dragged across the ground, Kang starts wondering how much blood a human being actually has. As they pull him, he can feel death creeping up on his neck. And before he finally died, he was tortured for hours by 4 goblins. His sister wakes up to screaming, rushes into the room, and asks what the hell he's doing acting like that so early in the morning. But then she sees him all curled up and trembling, mumbling that goblins are terrifying. He's shaken, totally out of it. I honestly thought he was just being one of those pathetic types, but then he starts explaining over breakfast. He tells her that they made him bleed to death. First, they ripped off his fingernails, then his fingers, then his toenails, and it just kept going. She actually asks him to stop talking. She died too, apparently, but it wasn't nearly that bad. She wants to know if that's the only reason he was screaming, and he says that if she had gone through what he did, she'd be waking up screaming too. She says fine. She gets it, but asks if maybe he wants to go to the hospital or something. It seems like psych wards have been filling up lately because of these experiences. He sits down and says he doesn't think that's necessary. It was bad, but not that bad. Then he says he's got at least one piece of good news. Apparently, once you die, a tutorial ends. The guy goes, phew. Finally, I can lie down and have a perfect peaceful night's sleep. Except, yeah, no. The system greets him again with a welcome message to the tutorial. Poor guy just lets out a scream asking what the hell is going on. Still completely traumatized, he sits in the back of a cave for hours, hoping maybe he'll wake up or something. But, nope, nothing happens. Eventually, he gets up, realizing he's got no choice but to move forward. Last time, he grabbed a mace. Thought it'd be simple and strong. But now that he's terrified of getting close to goblins, a bow or crossbow sounds like a much better plan. Like every Korean guy, he had some experience from military service. So he figured, yeah, this should work. But this guy really thought he grabbed an M4 or something. Ain't fired, grazed the goblin. The little monster turns and gives him a death glare. Luckily, the guy had brought 2 weapons. Cheating a little, he also took a spear, charged him with all of his courage, and bam, drove it right into the first goblin's chest. He's already celebrating, saying he got one of the bastards. He turns to defend against the second one. But guess what? This isn't a video game. The spear was still lodged in the other goblin, and he couldn't pull it out. And in that moment, the second big one came in and sliced him right open. Well, at least this time, he woke up in his room right. Hopefully, he didn't spend the whole night suffering. That's exactly what he celebrates. Yeah, he's sweating and completely wrecked, but at least it was instant. The system pops up again, and he gives it a thumbs up. Stage 2, Round 3. This time, he picks the shield. Why? Because he spent all day watching YouTube videos on how to use a sword. The guy says he's ready. Let the green bastards come at him. Yeah, didn't last long. He's already woken up again. While he's losing his mind shouting that he's going to kill everything, his sister just stares wondering if this is starting to mess with his head. Once more, the welcome screen appears. It's time for round 4. But instead of running into battle, this time, he just stands there, swinging the sword up and down. After a few hours doing that, his vitality stat goes up by 1 point. He spent 8 hours doing that. Checking his window, he finally sees something change. He remembers that he has that 1 point for additional abilities. Looks like he invested it into strength, and now he's ready to charge. He says he's going to get his revenge now that he's got 2 extra points, but, obviously, yeah, he wakes up back in his room again. Seems like this time, he didn't even manage to kill a single goblin, which is just embarrassing. Round 5, he does the same thing again, swings his sword around for 8 hours and gains 1 more point in vitality. Round 6, after spending 10 hours doing squats, push-ups, and everything else he could think of, he earns another point in strength. At that point, he was already handling 2 goblins at once with some ease. The problem, he was still lacking the fundamental skills. Even if he could survive the first couple, it wasn't nearly enough to deal with the rest. In round 7, he made a decision. He'd just train with the sword and then stop. He kept slashing and slashing and slashing. As usual, after a few hours, he got 1 more vitality point. He collapsed on the ground, exhausted, and a window popped up. His swordsmanship skill had finally leveled up from the worst possible rank to rank F. The system explained that the skill now helped him adjust his posture and distribute force more effectively. Shorter was still as bad as a drunk neighbor flailing a sword, but, hey, it was better than nothing. He should have been celebrating, saying now he could finally get revenge on those bastards. With bloodshot eyes, he says, today, they all die. There were 5 goblins total in the second tutorial, 2 guarding the front of the castle and 3 in the back. Those first 2, he fought them so many times they were practically training dummies by now. He takes out the first one with a crossbow bolt and finishes the second with his sword. The real problem was the forest ones. He manages to take down 2 of them using strategy, but that last one was a serious challenge. The goblin's axe clashes with his sword. Now they are in a proper duel. The monster goes in for another strike. He blocks with his shield, and that's when he starts noticing something. He can see the attacks now. His body's reacting before his eyes can fully register the moves. He feels a lightness in his arm. Swordsmanship rank F kicks in, and he nearly lands a stab in the goblin's chest, but only manages to scratch its cheek. The real problem, he knows what to do, but after fighting 4 goblins already, he's completely drained. The goblin swings again, smashes right into his sword, and knocks it flying. The monster comes in to finish the job, but Kang just starts laughing mid-fight. He says it's because he knows this bastard. He knows the goblin loves to torture people. He avoids killing blows on purpose. His pattern is way too obvious. So Kang pulls a classic street move, kicks up a bunch of dirt into the goblin's eyes. The monster's blinded, flailing around, and Kang picks up a rock and slams it into the goblin's shin. Dude's stumbling around, screaming blindly while Kang circles behind him and smashes the rock into the side of his face. Killed the thing with a rock, it seems. The system congratulates him, gives him some bonus stats, lets him choose a new weapon, and even unlocks a new skill, the worst possible rank and shield usage. He's over there celebrating, but I can already feel the next round's going to wipe that grin off his face. He levels up twice and declares help prove that humans are superior to goblins. The next morning, he's got this weird expression, probably some meme. I don't know. He says this is the strong morning, and he's came high and feeling absolutely amazing. To celebrate clearing stage 2, he's making himself some coffee. And, of course, just like everything he does now, it tastes perfect. But then he hears a loud noise outside, and his sister bursts into the room asking what is done this time. Right that in the system pops up saying the world tutorial has ended. From now on, he can freely use the system outside of the tutorial, and dungeons will begin appearing. He rushes to the front of the house and looks out. And right there in the middle of the street, a dungeon gate has appeared. He and his sister immediately understand what it is, while the rest of the people are just standing around confused, staring at it. But only awakened ones can enter those gates. They started appearing all over the world, and guess what? If they weren't cleared in time, the gates would collapse. Meanwhile, the connection to that Harkan place was still sitting at 4 years and 357 days. Now I'm getting kind of confused. I thought the tutorial had 8 stages. So what's going on here? Well, obviously, once those gates activated, the world went into even worse chaos than it did on the first day. As usual, the siblings kept it safe and decided to stay calm at home digging for information. Ken found out that apparently the tutorial wasn't completely over. Anyone who recently had a birthday, specifically, those who just turned 16, was now eligible to join. His sister says people are talking non-stop about the dungeons. There's talk that whoever received talents is now expected to go into those portals and clear them. Our guy, though, is excited. Now he can finally have the full status window in the real world. He tells it to open, but the system responds that the tutorial is still ongoing. So that's not possible yet. He finds it kind of odd, but then remembers. Right. The tutorial has 8 stages. While he kept repeating stage 2 over and over, the rest of the participants had already finished it. After all, it had been 8 days since everything started. So he tells his sister that there's nothing else to do but finish the tutorial and asks if she found any info on stage 3. She says the only thing she heard is that the theme seems to be patience. That's all she could dig up. Very few people made it past stage 2, so details about stage 3 are practically non-existent. He flexes his biceps and says it's going to be easy. He's gotten super strong and is not going to suffer again like he did back then. Stage 3, it'll be smooth sailing. And so here we are that same night, stage 3. Strangely enough, that golden liquid, the monster's pouring on him. Yeah, it's exactly what you're thinking. In stage 3, the system explains that he has to prove his persistence and tenacity. The condition is to kill the boss, Gorka. As always, failure means death. The event notes that if he waits for the right opportunity, it'll present itself. He's pumped, dressed in camo gear, but is wondering what this whole sneak in and assassinate thing is about. Whatever it is, the first step is finding where these guys even are. He checks his status window to see what's new. He's now level 4. He's also unlocked crossbow mastery. The guy's glowing with new skills and perks. He puts his extra points into strength and vitality. Still, he feels like he's missing some kind of reward he doesn't remember claiming. The system then opens up the inventory tab. He taps on the sword and pulls it out from the interface. The only problem is it's worn down, all battered. But with no better option, he figures it's time to see what this Gorka thing is all about. He tells himself the story of Carlos Hitchcock, that legendary American sniper who crouched for 3 days, 1.4 kilometers away just to take down a general. That's his mindset now. It looks like he's been crawling for 10 hours straight. Finally, he spots the enemy cabin. 2 guards are standing out front. He wonders if maybe he should just take the shot and force his way through. At this point, his clothes are soaked in piss. He could move for hours and covered in bugs. And right at that moment, something blocks the light above him. Yeah, you've guessed it. That's when he gets that lovely golden shower and just freezes in place. The guy really is patient. As the creature backs away, Ken keeps telling himself, be patient. Be patient. But suddenly, he bolts forward, charging straight at the thing, shouting that he's getting revenge for that mess. The slash is clean, perfectly aimed, and the first one drops dead. The second grabs his spear and turns to face him. At that moment, an alarm signal is triggered in the village, and suddenly, he's surrounded, goblins coming in from every direction. The guy's going off the deep end, smiling like a maniac, and saying that if he's screwed anyway, then he might as well say that one line he's always wanted to. Bring it on, you sons off. Yeah, that one. And would you believe it? He actually unlocks a new skill, Lion's Roar. Alright, here comes round 2. This time, he jumps right in and starts things off by unleashing that Lion's Roar, pulling every enemy toward him, and charges straight at them. After crawling around for 10 hours during his first try, he figured something out of these monsters. The Gorko warriors go out to hunt during the day and only come back at night. In other words, the camp is way weaker in the daytime with no one around to defend it. So what does he do? He starts slicing through everything, storms into the main tent without hesitation. But then inside, he sees a chubby guy flanked by 2 hooded mags. The boss points at him and right away, a magic circle forms behind Kang. Boom. Low rank immobilization spell. And right then and there, he's wondering what kind of curse tutorial includes this. That's when he remembers the description of Lion's Roar. It removes any debuff below rank D. He takes a deep breath, roars again, and the debuff shatters. He charges, takes 2 steps toward the boss, leaps into the air, and yells, "Everybody's got a plan," until they take a sword to the face. He actually pulled it off. I thought he was about to get wrecked again. As a reward, he gains an intermediate level regeneration skill. And on top of that, since he cleared stage 3 in record time, he's awarded the title, the Impatient. Kang's hyped. He took a whole week to clear stage 2, but now stage 3, one day. Seeing how fast he's growing, he reaches a conclusion. Apparently, he's the chosen talented protagonist. At this pace, he figures he'll blaze through stage 4 in a few minutes. He's already fantasizing about slaying dragons and walking around in golden armor. But then we skip forward to 1 month later. On TV, they are reporting that it's been 25 days since the gates first appeared. The first response squads have already been formed and deployed into the dungeons. Any awakened civilians are encouraged to join the groups in exchange for rewards. His sister's in the kitchen, calmly cooking when she hears him scream from the bedroom. But at this point, she doesn't even flinch anymore. She tells him to cut it out, but he storms out of the room yelling that he finally finished. He walks straight ahead and killed everything in sight. She reminds him that he'd said earlier he was going to give up, but then she pauses looking at him with a weird expression. He's different. From a distance, he looks like he's grown 50 and turned into a walking mountain of muscle. She's just staring at him like, "You were already ugly, and now you're worse." Meanwhile, our boy is muttering into the void that these tutorial bastards are pushing him over the edge. His sister tells him to chill out, says he's looking like a full-on criminal, then asks, "So what the hell is going on in stage 4? He explains that it was more of a group project. He had to prove his leadership skills. The mission window said the fail condition was death. He had to remove the dungeon core and ideally escape without losing a single teammate. Those other guys with him, apparently, they were all NPCs assigned to the quest. At first, Kang just stood back watching. The group was arguing about whether they should retreat, and things started getting heated. But he managed to calm everyone down and convince them to move forward together. And at the start, that looked like he could carry the whole team. He used Lion's Roar to boost morale, and with his healing and regeneration abilities, staying alive was easy. His sister asks, "Okay, then why did it take a whole month?" He says it all started that same night. And while he was sleeping, those bastards tried to kill him. Dude didn't even finish chewing his food before he was shouting about it again. Even when he sent them on night patrols, it'd come back, set up ambushes, and somehow managed to kill him anyway. It seemed like every attempt ended the same way. And in that nightmare of a stage, he had to come up with a brilliant strategy to finally win. His sister asks what it was and he slams his hand on the table and says it was simple. Beat the crap out of all those bastards before starting the dungeon clear. Things got intense in the final part of the stage. He showed up, and as always, the group was deep in another pointless debate. Advance, retreat, who knows what. That's when Kang took a breath, unleashed Lion's Roar, and yelled at everyone to shut up. Some girl asked him why he was doing that, and without saying a word, he pointed his sword forward and announced that from now on, everyone was going to follow his orders. Anyone who refused would die. If you talk back, you die too. The first guy, poor soul, dared to ask if he was crazy, and boom, Kang smashed his nose in. Hit after hit, even while everyone was screaming at him to stop, he kept pummeling the guy, saying, "I told you not to answer." Everyone starts shaking. Kang turns to them and says, "You're all going to follow me now because I know the way. Anyone who doesn't dies. Well, then problem solved, I guess. But this guy's getting brutal." A skeleton swung a sword at him. Kang caught it midair with his bare hand, pulled it in, and snapped it in half. He tells the team that was the last one. They are all standing there trembling, whispering that he's really wiping everything out. And then finally, he finds the dungeon core. The mission is to destroy it, so he slices the support. The system congratulates him for completing stage 4. As a reward, he gets the cleave skill at rank E and a mental fortification buff at rank B. After everything, he says the result wasn't that bad at all. Fighting through so many enemies, of course, his stats shot up, and he racked up a ton of loot. He still has no idea what to do with the mana stones he got from the skeletons, but is sure they'll come in handy eventually. The cleave skill is a powerful sword strike that has a chance of slicing enemies in half. There's a limit to it, sure, but it also ignores part of their defense. And that mental fortification thing, turns out it's not a skill. It's from a ring he found. As long as it's no mental type skill of ranker or lower can affect him. He knew the training had been amazing, but his favorite reward by far. The guy's now doing 300 push-ups straight, completely shredded. Seriously, look at the guy's physique. And he's already figured it out. Standard workouts like this won't cut it anymore. Maybe it's time to actually hit the gym or something. Right then, his phone buzzes. He checks it, and it's a government alert. A dungeon has appeared in a certain area, and all citizens are to stay indoors and lock their doors for safety. At first, he thinks, so another dungeon showed up. But, no, this one exploded. Something went wrong, and now goblins are loose in the city, killing everyone. Looks like they either forgot to clear the dungeon or didn't manage to in time. And just like the warning said, the gate opened, and now the monsters are pouring out. And worse, it's not some far-off district. It's right in front of his house. Even worse than that, his sister had gone out to work while he was in the middle of doing crunches. He bolts out searching for a weapon because since he hasn't finished the tutorial yet, he can't access his inventory in the real world. So yeah, he grabs a kitchen knife. That's all he's got. 1 second later, he's out running through the street yelling, calling the bastards out. He tries to activate Lion's Roar, but nothing happens. Because the tutorial isn't finished yet, his skills don't work in the real world. The goblins just stare at him, confused, and that's when it hits him. This is going to be a lot harder without his abilities. Still, he managed to pull their attention. At least now, no one else in the area would die. Only problem, 2 armed goblins are already charging right at him. The guy's died so many times, he's starting to lose it. He's mocking the goblins, saying he's been past their level since stage 2. But even while talking big, he's on edge. He knows these guys could be different now. They are not tutorial mobs anymore. Still, with a quick flick of the kitchen knife, he slashes one saying he can tell their strength just from the way they move. And that blade's already pressed up against the monster's throat. He tells the bastards to come at him. He's already stolen one of their swords and says he's got a lot of work to do. Meanwhile, across the city, people are barricading an office door. Everyone's shaking because something's banging from the other side. And, yep, it's the office where his sister works. She's sweating bullets. He had messaged her asking if she was still at work, and she just replied, yes, but told him not to come. That's when the yelling and the sound of slicing start from outside. The door is getting smashed in, furniture fouling. And then who walks in? The madman himself covered in blood, holding a knife and saying, sorry for breaking it down, but, sis, I'm here. He looks like a full-on psycho, blade still in hand, and everyone's staring like, is this really her brother? While he's looking around the office, some guy in the back yells, asking who he even is. Why the hell did he break their barricade? Their only protection. Kang apologizes casually and tells them not to worry. The monsters are already dead. They are all frozen in fear, but he tells them each to grab a weapon. Even if they fail the first stage, any normal person should be able to take on a single goblin. His sister asks where he's going, and he says, obviously, he saw more goblins on the way, and is heading there now. Even if there's only a few left, he wants to make sure everyone sleeps peacefully tonight. Cut to the next scene. She's pouring water over his arm, and the guy's still growing. Seriously. What's going on? He's gonna hit 5 meters at this rate. She's mad now, telling him to quit playing the tough guy and demands to know why he's running around picking fights. He explains that he didn't want to get beat up, but normally, he has a regeneration skill that helps him recover. Problem is, since he's outside the tutorial, that doesn't work here. So yeah, it's not going great. People have already put the barricade back up, and she tells him to be more careful. If you can't use his skills, that means no resurrection either. Clearly, he's not okay in the head. He just shrugs and says it was still pretty cool. She replies, yeah. And that's why you deserve that beating. But even though she thinks that seems like someone else had a different opinion, her boss wants to meet him. Now the guy's all red in the face. And now here we are, it's time for stage 5. This time, the test is about proving his wisdom and overcoming mental obstacles. Poor guy had almost forgotten he was still stuck in this whole mess, and wow. What a group. The one with the blue hair is telling the redhead that she's a succubus. The archer girl is trying to calm everyone down, and our boy sees this full cast of beauties and wonders what kind of amazing situation he's just landed in. The objective for stage 5, find and kill a succubus who's disguised as a human. As always, if he fails, he dies. Obviously, the succubus is hiding her identity and the first one to figure her out. Yeah, she'll target them first. Kang is already sweating bullets. He knows what these women are, demons. He knows they disguise themselves as stunning women to suck your energy dry. The problem? Every single girl in his group fits that description perfectly. That's when Alice walks up, her eyes sparkling, and asks what he thinks. She wants to know who he suspects is the succubus. The guy's looking her over, completely flustered, thinking she's even prettier up close. All twisted up inside, he stammers saying he's not sure. He really doesn't have a clue. But right at that moment, the system chimes in. His mental fortification ring has just resisted his seduction attempt. Whoa. Our boy's sitting there by the fire thinking back on everything. Stage 1 was a hellish inferno. Stage 2, a brutal goblin fight. Stage 3, he got peed on. Stage 4, an entire month of pain. He's been through it all, suffering like a dog just to survive. But for the first time, he genuinely believes he might have an easy win. He quickly covers his mouth, realizing he was smiling like an idiot. If she realizes he's caught on, she'll probably kill him in his sleep. And at the same time, he knows Sakit are no joke. Any demon who can disguise herself as a human and seduce like that, she's gotta be powerful. And if the other guys are already under her spell, he's the only one left who can act. He thinks maybe it'd be smart to talk to the other girls, but nah. Just for tonight, he decides to sleep. Naturally, he wakes up again in his sister's office. He jumps up yelling. People tell him to calm down. The military's on its way, but our boy is furious. He's sure the damn succubus realized he wasn't under her charm and killed him while he slept. Suddenly, he pauses. Wait, what's this about the military arriving? And, yep, there they are. Troops roll in, guns blazing, and they mow the goblins down. Finally, real bullets are working on these green bastards. Kang's at the window watching while everyone celebrates, thinking it's over. But then he feels something strange. What's this feeling? He wonders. It's like something dangerous is getting closer. Like, he doesn't even finish the thought. Outside, soldiers are firing non-stop, wondering why it's not working, and that's when they see it. A red goblin just walking through the bullets. They are ricocheting off him like rubber. They keep shooting, unloading everything, but even a clean hit to the forehead makes him just tilt his head like nothing happened. Then the goblin roars, completely unhinged, and charges the vehicle. Soldiers hit the gas firing behind them, but the goblin leaps, smashes down in the car, obliterates the entire squad. Kane watches in shock from above. That goblin's aura alone is enough to leave someone completely paralyzed. The soldiers nearby muttered that Squad 3 got wiped out. One guy yells for reinforcements, but suddenly, he grabs his head, wincing in pain. And just like that, the goblin's already standing on the hood of the car, licking his lips. They ask where backup is and someone says they're sending in a talented civilian. Brill, a civilian's not gonna do a damn thing against that. The goblin leaps again, going in for the kill. The soldier pulls his weapon, knowing this is it. But right then, Kang Yoon-ji shows up and hurls a whole cinder block straight into the goblin's mouth. The thing flies back, skidding across the ground. Our boy climbs up onto the car and asks the soldier if he's okay. Looking at Kang's face, the guy's trembling. You're another monster, he mutters. Kang says, easy there. I'm the reinforcement. Lower that weapon. The soldier, still shaken, tries to understand why Kang looks so damn threatening, then apologizes and thanks him for the help. But Kang just replies, get ready because that thing's getting back up. And the reason Kang jumped into this mess, the goblin looked up to the office and Kang knew after it was done down here, it was heading straight for his sister. So he asks, did you guys bring any tear gas, anything chemical? The soldier nods. Good, Kang says. Use it. Use all of it. Don't worry. I've got a way to deal with this thing. He starts walking toward the goblin and tells them to open fire. His sister is watching from above, terrified. Meanwhile, Kang walks right up to the monster and says with a grin, well, look at you. Not bad. The soldiers at that point grab the tear gas grenades and toss them right under the creature's feet. At least that was having an effect. The monster starts lashing out in every direction, panicking, and our boy quickly realizes it's moving just like those hobgoblins he fought before. He might be suffering too, sure, but is way more used to pain than any creature could ever be. His first strike knocks the weapon out of the monster's hands, and now all it can do is take a beating. The problem is Kang's arms are shaking like crazy, almost like he's about to cry, wondering why the hell this thing's so damn tough. The soldier from earlier is watching from a distance, clearly stunned by the kid's talent when someone else shows up asking what's going on. This blonde guy walks in wanting to know who's fighting. Is he the reinforcement that was sent in? At this point, after all that effort, Kang's weapon is worn down and completely battered, and he still hasn't gotten anywhere. His eyes are burning like hell, and the damn goblin doesn't even have a scratch on him. He wonders if he's supposed to use some kind of martial arts move or maybe break one of the goblin's joints something. Then suddenly, someone cuts in and starts slashing at the monster. And judging by the speed and force, whoever this guy is, he's no joke. Kang didn't even see the attack happen and starts wondering who that speed demon even was. But, apparently, the blonde guy didn't land an actual hit. He swung sure but didn't cut anything. He calls out to Kang and tells him that this thing's the boss of an F-rank dungeon. Its defense is insanely high, but it's got to have a weak spot. Kang surprised the guy who knows what an F-rank dungeon is, which means he's clearly experienced. They charge the goblin again, and the blonde tells Kang to keep the pressure on. Looks like the monster's stamina is running out and its defenses are starting to drop. Ken keeps up the attack, but is thinking, what's the point of draining its energy if they're not even doing any real damage? Right then, his sword shatters and he needs a new weapon. Immediately, he remembers the one he knocked out of the goblin's hand, sprints over, and grabs it. The blonde guy shouts at him to hit from the other side. The monster's weak spot seems to be exposed from there, but Kang's already figured it out. The creature's willing to take hits anywhere except the eyes. Problem is it's guarding that area like crazy, so they'll have to make an opening somewhere else first. He says he doesn't know what else to do. Blood flies and suddenly, bam, he lands a hit right in the monster's vital point. Tang even pauses for a second, apologizing to the creature, saying it was a dirty move. He says it felt like the sword moved on its own toward that spot. Maybe that really was his weak point. He's not completely sure, but now that he's in, he's going to finish this thing off. Yi hoists it up, impaled, then slams it to the ground, ripping through it. The monster bounces across the concrete. Kang's already chasing after it again. At this point, the poor beast is whimpering, foaming at the mouth, and Kang drives the blade in one final time. While he's finishing it off, the blonde guy is just watching from a distance thinking, damn, this guy's actually strong. The only problem? He has no idea where this talented guy even came from. Was he an independent player? Right then, the item dropped from the goblin begins to materialize. But since Kang hasn't finished the tutorial yet, he can't check what it is. Obviously, he grabs it anyway. He'll figure it out once the tutorial's done. As he tucks it into his inventory, the blonde guy approaches to ask who he is. But Kang is already suspicious. He thinks this guy might try to take the item because, technically, when you fight together, you're supposed to share loot. But he didn't ask for help. This guy just jumped in, worried the guy might try to claim whatever it is he just picked up even though he doesn't even know what it is. Kang bolts saying he's super busy and has things to take care of. He throws a wink over his shoulder and says, later. And the blonde is just left standing there completely confused about what the hell just happened. A few hours after Kang took down the hobgoblin, the situation in the city finally started to calm down. Of course, he walked his sister back home, but the streets looked straight out of an apocalypse movie. It was already nighttime by the time they finally made it. But the moment they opened the door, she asked if by any chance he had forgotten to lock the damn thing. The entire place was trashed. She looked around and said he really had matured one bit. The two of them step in casually, slipping off their sandals, not even thinking about the possibility that whatever broke in could still be inside. But, hey, there's an upside to having an older sister. She already had food waiting for him, so he's just there stuffing his face. She's on her phone glancing at the screen and tells Kang this whole thing is insane. Tells him to take a look, and there it is. The video of him taking out that goblin. Kang grabs the phone in shock. That's me. Who the hell recorded this and posted it without asking? The comments are a mix. Some people are saying it's awesome. The haters are calling it too easy, saying it was just a low-level goblin from the second stage. Still, the boy was clearly born to be an influencer. Just a few likes were enough to have him feeling real proud of himself. His sister takes one look at him and says his face already gave it away. He tells the damn woman to stop talking about how ridiculously handsome he is, but then he sees the comments again. And, yeah, a lot of people are saying his face looks more like a villain's. Later that night, he calls out to his sister, saying he needs her help. She asks what it is, and he tells her to turn off the lights. She's confused, but since he saved her life today, she says fine, but warns him he better not wake up screaming like a lunatic again. He used a thumbs up and says to relax. This stage is gonna be easy. As he's lying there trying to fall asleep, he keeps thinking about that blonde guy from earlier. He looked insanely strong. How many stages had he cleared? Kang knows. If it weren't for his resurrection skill, he wouldn't have made it past the second stage himself. Still, none of that matters. Sooner or later, he's going to finish all 8 stages. It's time to become the strongest. He turns over, remembering that damn Sukyu's. Yeah, she was kinda cute. Even though she killed him and he knows she's a monster, for some reason, he's actually excited to see her again. He shows up in a dream smiling, all eager to greet her. But when he opens his eyes, there's a goblin right in front of him, breathing in his face. He decks the thing in the face, sends it flying. Immediately, he starts wondering where that amazing team from the last dream went. What weirdly, the mission this time is to clear out a goblin cave and wipe the dungeon. Cave goblins have poor eyesight but excellent hearing. And as always, if he fails, he dies. He's already surrounded wondering what the big deal is with this hearing thing. As the goblins close in, he lets out a dramatic yell. Why the perfect mission disappear? And you know what? I agree with him. Where did that beautiful mission go? Bring it back. The scene shifts to an alien house in the city where the blonde guy is wrecking people. Some guy in a green hoodie, completely beaten, wants to know how someone who hasn't even entered the tutorial yet is stronger than someone with actual talent. The blonde steps on him and tells him to shut it. Stats don't change anything just because you've got a few extra points. Thinking back to Kang's fight, he starts licking his lips, saying something interesting has shown up. And, seriously, artists, why don't you ever draw this stuff with a girl instead of why you got at them? Stage 5, Round 3. Looks like our boy died again. Now the mission is to kill a doppelganger, a monster that eats humans, steals their form, and hides among them. Honestly, the succubus stuff was way more fun than this nightmare. At the same time, it's kind of like a mafia game, all about figuring out who's who watching for lies. The key stat this time is wisdom, but Kane's already picked up some skills when it comes to group dynamics. He takes a deep breath and yells for everyone to look at him. The guys all turn to look at him in silence. He coughs and says, the first one who moves is the culprit, and they are dead. That's when our boy realizes he forgot something important. In mafia games, the one who talks too much is usually the first to die. And judging by the situation, he already died and didn't even notice. At this point, it just feels like he keeps waking up and falling asleep. I'm not even seeing the game anymore. And, apparently, during stage 5, he got stuck there for over a month and a half. Some dude with glasses asks AM what she thinks. But hold up, it's not some guy with glasses. It's our protagonist trying to act smart now. She tells him she just got back from work and wants to know what the hell he's doing. He says he's trying to change who he is, starting with his appearance. He's already died 53 times in that cursed mission, and it was time to try something different. That damn system always says to use wisdom, but every mission is totally different, so he never actually learns anything. His sister tells him the only way he'll get smarter is with a brain transplant. He just slumps in defeat. She really hit him with that, and she walks off saying she's going to install some kind of soundproofing in his room because she can't take it anymore. Back in stage 5, use your wisdom to overcome the obstacles. This time, he appears inside a cave. The system shows up, and he already knows it's gonna be some stupid mess again. But suddenly, something makes him smile and shout, Eureka! The mission is to clear the F-rank dungeon Tyrang incubator, and the hint says the Tyrang guarding the incubator is level 20. So he needs to find his weak point, and there it is, the Tyrang spinner. Massive, grotesque, disgusting. But Kang is tired of these strategy missions. This was perfect. Just a straightforward job, kill the monster and move forward. It spits at him. He thinks it's a web and dodges to the side, but turns out it's aced, and his whole arm starts melting. Still, this guy's full psycho mode. He just cuts right through it, saying he's not gonna die here. No way. Even without the arm, he charges again, slips underneath, and stabs upward into its belly. Just like the system hinted, it had a weak spot, and that cut splits the thing in two. He's drenched in blood, yelling that he doesn't care about weak points. He'd rather smash the lock than use the key. And just like that, he clears stage 5 without much trouble. Too bad the succubus mission never came back. Now he's off the rails, shouting that only weaklings need to be smart. For finishing, he's awarded the S-rank skill, Titan Strength, which lets him infuse mana into his muscles and is now level 25. The scene cuts to classroom 3-2 at a school. Someone calls out to Minetsu, saying it's birthday punch day, but the kid just replies that they'd better stay away. He's already exhausted from that damn tutorial. His friend asks how stage 1 went, and he says it sucked, just like everyone said. He's getting through it, though. The problem is there are no more tips for stage 5. His friend says he heard that if you make it past stage 4, you're already in the top 1%, which is why everyone who clears it treats the info like it's pure gold. Suddenly, he sees a post. Someone had just finished stage 7 and was heading into 8. They left a tip. Stage 4 is about leadership, and the easiest way to win is by making your team surrender to your power. Stage 5 is about wisdom, but the easiest way to win is with brute strength. Stage 3 is strategy, and guess what? The easiest way to win. Yep, strength again. Stage 7 is about dedication, and, again, beating the enemy to death is the shortcut. He's sitting there like, who the hell is this troll giving out advice that makes no sense? Meanwhile, Kang is screaming that he's trying to give people real advice to save their lives, but no one believes him. His sister's next to him asking why he's yelling so much. The guy explains, I gave everyone the tips, didn't I? I was being nice, explained exactly how to get through the tutorial, but no one believes me. His sister walks off laughing, telling him he shouldn't be giving tips to anyone. He's just wasting time. He agrees, saying that soon he'll finish stage 8 and become the first person in the nation to graduate from the tutorial. He'll be on the same level as the guild master of Dangan or the leader of the Skill Alliance Guild. But his sister keeps laughing, saying he'll never be on the same level as the people who finish without dying even once. Meanwhile, he's been stuck in this thing for 4 months. He tells her to shut up. He cleared stages 6 and 7 on his first try. And here we are, folks. Welcome to the tutorial. You've completed stage 7. Now it's time for the final battle in stage 8. The rewards from Stage 6 were a B rank sword named Biljan, which gave him the Berserker skill and apparently had a thirst for blood. Stage 7 gave him Rummel's armor, which came with order restoration. Our boy is hyped. The second he finishes Stage 8, he'll finally be able to use his inventory in the real world, and that means he can finally check out that item he got from the hobgoblin he killed. The system welcomes him, saying all it asks is that he takes less than a week to complete it. But then his expression shifts. The system asks him what his personal principles are. He just stands there, unsure what to answer. Then suddenly, the floor and ceiling start to crack. Out of nowhere, he falls into this abyss, feels like he's diving into a void. When he opens his eyes, he's standing in the middle of a street. A woman walks toward him, but she passes right through him like he's a ghost. This is the first time he's seen a city inside the tutorial. He wonders if this could actually be Earth, but then he spots a weird couple nearby and that confirms it. No one here is human. Everyone's this strange, brownish creature, baked-o lizard-looking things. They are so ugly, he doesn't even want to make eye contact. But then he notices one of them standing still staring at him, or rather looking at something behind him. When he turns around, there's a mountain of monsters marching his way. The mutant townsfolk start running in pure panic as the creatures flood down the street. Kang instantly recognizes a few of the monsters, ones he's fought before. But, obviously, there are others that are way stronger and way bigger. This is on a whole different level from any dungeon he's ever been in. It straight up feels like the end of the world just arrived in this place. That's when he remembers. The system said the connection with Hakan would happen in 4 years and 280 days. He starts thinking, maybe this is what's going to happen on Earth when that time comes. Suddenly, his body is swallowed in shadow. He looks back and sees a massive titan with a cosmic head towering above him. The monster reaches out its hand, and as it comes down to crush him, Tang doesn't even dodge. He just stands there and gets disintegrated. The heavy's floating in an empty void. A voice asks him, so how did it feel? In front of him, a vague, invisible presence appears. He asks if it's some kind of god. The figure replies, no, not quite. I'm what you call the administrator of this dimension. This stage was actually a personal interview with him. Kang was free to ask anything he wanted, and likewise, the administrator would be asking him a few things too. Kang immediately asks, that vision I saw, is that really going to happen on Earth in 5 years? The administrator replies, that depends entirely on what humanity chooses to do from this point on. Kang says he doesn't understand. If you're such a powerful entity, why don't you just stop at all? The administrator answers, I'm not a guardian. I simply maintain the balance of things. The best I can do is assign missions, create the tutorial, things like that. But now it was the administrator's turn to ask a question. He wanted to know, what has Kang Hyun been living for up to this point, and what principles does he live by? Kang says that's kind of a weird question. It's way too deep. Why would he want to know something like that? The guy responds that watching humans made him curious. All intelligent life forms are fascinating, but humans stood out even more in comparison. Kang clearly doesn't like the way this so-called guardian talks about humans. He says he probably hasn't observed them enough. Nobody on his planet has the luxury to sit around thinking about stuff like that. Everyone's just trying to survive, grab whatever little happiness they can, and push through one day at a time. The administrator asks if that's what he wants to protect. Kang says yes. He wants to protect his sister even if she's useless and his parents too. Basically, he's fighting for his family. The administrator asks, so do you want to be a hero? Kang says he's died so many times already. He knows for a fact he's not cut out for that. There are definitely people out there way stronger than him, so he doesn't stand a chance. The Dan administrator agrees, says the talent to be a hero is something you're born with. And right now, Kang's much closer to being a nobody than a savior. But, personally, he says he likes Kang. He had a great time watching him go through each stage of the tutorial. That's when it hits Kang. This guy's the saddest. He was just sitting back and enjoying watching him die over and over. So Kang asks, what was the deal with stage 5 being about wisdom, and why did it keep changing? Strangely, the administrator goes silent, then just says time's up. He really enjoyed their talk and tells Kang goodbye. Right away, a system message appears. You have completed stage 8. Kang is still confused, but the administrator reminds him, this was a tutorial. The real challenges are only just beginning, and they'll be way worse than anything he's faced so far. Whether Kang likes it or not, the administrator believes he has what it takes to become the hero who will save Earth. Our boy starts yelling, swearing that something fishy definitely happened in stage 5. But the entity just congratulates him for clearing everything and then vanishes. The system then announces, you are the 62nd person to complete the tutorial. Tile acquired, tutorial graduate. I knew it was him screwing me over in stage 5. That's what our guy says as he wakes up full of rage. But this time, they'd shoved something in his mouth. Turns out it was a dirty sock, and he asks if that messed up sister of his was the one who did it. Of course she was. So you wouldn't keep screaming, you damn idiot. Just looking at your face, I can already tell you failed the test again, is what the damn girl says. But look at this bastard's face. He instantly throws his hand to the side and calls up his status window. His sister better take a good look because now he's officially a graduate man. The real deal just showed up. The damn girl just stood up and said how convenient. Now it's time for him to get out of the house and start making some money. She could at least congratulate in our boy. Right? Now he understands why she doesn't have a boyfriend. That's what he says right before getting smacked in the face with a stick. Looks like they already had breakfast and she's heading out, saying she'll be back soon. Our guy stares at his little window, graduate of the tutorial. The title for those who finished stage 8, giving +2 in all attributes. It wasn't as amazing as he thought it would be. On top of that, he already had the impatient title, but you can equip 2 at once. The system explains that aside from the main title, all the others only give 50% of their effect. So he equips the graduate title and sets the other as secondary. Now it was finally time for the moment he'd been waiting for, the item that bastard goblin had been carrying. A weird book, and he wants to find out what it really is. And it's Magic Explosion Rank E, a book that lets you learn that skill, which blasts out magical energy. And strangely enough, he's there celebrating, super happy. In my head, this is crap, honestly. But fine. The guy's humble. I'd say he's just a simple down-to-earth type. The system asks if he wants to learn the skill, and he instantly agrees. The book vanishes in his hand, and now he's excited to start testing out this new power. Meanwhile, in the city, a girl introduces herself as a Mayan, a new public servant. Her very first job assignment is at the school that trains the people who've awakened. That's where folks go to get their certifications, and it was also one of the first places built after everything started going crazy. She's thinking she'll be working with the nation's heroes. Definitely seems like a job worth doing. Obviously, though, some lunatics gotta show up. Poor girl's shaking like a leaf, apologizing through tears. Kang's standing there like some kind of monster while she's begging to see the rest of his paperwork. He tells her to speak louder, asking what the problem is. She's even holding up a little sheet to defend herself, trying to figure out why he's acting like that toward her. Girl, I'm the one who's confused here. Why are you acting like this? Is what our guy says until someone nearby calls out asking what's going on. The rest of the people just hanging around start filming, wondering why this guy's threatening the poor girl. He tries to explain that he didn't do anything, but then someone else shows up asking what all the fuss is about. Mion calls out to instructor Lee Hyun and asks for help. The blonde guy takes a look and sees our protagonist. In that moment, both of them feel like they've seen each other before somewhere. He asks for the sheet, and she hands it over. The guy sees the name Kang Hyun and says the photo looks way different. Our boy explains, I awaken, so yeah, my appearance changed. But I swear it's me. If you don't believe it, check my DNA or fingerprints. Whatever. It doesn't matter to me. The guy notices you finished stage 5, and our guy confirms it. For some reason, he's pretending to be a low-key loser hiding his real power, which is why he listed his level lower than it is. Why? No idea. That the guy says that if Kang's at level 12, that's pretty high for someone who only made it to stage 5. Looks like he illegally entered a few dungeons. Now it's starting to make sense. He shouldn't be that high level, not even close to reaching stage 8. None of it adds up. And, apparently, he lied, but even so, they are still suspicious. So he lies a bit more, saying he went into one dungeon before it became illegal. Lee Hyun says he gets it, but wants to know more about this masculinity power. What kind of skill is that supposed to be? Our guy says it's simple. It just doubles his strength. That's it. He accepts that explanation, but says he has one more question. Everyone receives a talent at stage 3, an accessory at stage 4, and some kind of skill or special reward at stage 5. So he should list everything he got. Kang's starting to get tired of this whole interrogation, but he agrees. He bites his own arm, and right away, it starts to regenerate. Obviously, that's the skill he got, self-healing. He also shows the ring he has, the one that blocks mental attacks. But since he already lied about the skill, he goes on and says the ring gives him a power that lets him scare everyone when he shouts. The blonde guy tells him to go ahead and use it to prove it. Then we see another blondie nearby, the one with the hair shaved on the sides, just watching as Kang takes a deep breath. This is the guy who seems to remember the whole goblin incident. And in that exact second, the trauma hits him, and he instantly covers his ears. Kang lets out a scream that shakes the entire room, and everyone covers their ears. Kang asks if he needs to prove anything else, and the guy says there's no way he can doubt him after that. Good lord. Just look at this dude's face. Artists, you need to chill. I swear I'm gonna find out your name and end you. Our guy's sitting there all in his feelings saying he got rejected at first because of his ID. But after that roar, he was accepted right away. Even so, now that he's in the classroom, he's sitting there by himself, and it looks like no one wants to get anywhere near him. The crazy guy who yelled at the receptionist and then screamed at someone else. That's what people are calling him now. Harboe notices that the vibes around him are getting kind of weird, especially with that strange blonde dude eyeing him the whole time. Kang Hyun walks into the room, introduces himself, and says he's more or less in charge of that whole section. Says it's a pleasure to meet everyone, and the crowd gives a polite round of applause. For the next 10 days, they'd be studying theory and doing hands-on practice in the afternoons. All meals and lodging would be provided there. Anyone who didn't cause trouble would earn their certification with no problem. Finally, he asks everyone to pay close attention. It's been about half a year since the world changed. Even after 6 months, new information about dungeons and monsters keeps coming in all the time. Tactics, strategies, and goals are constantly evolving. What he's trying to say is that everything you're learning could change at any moment. Nothing is guaranteed. Our guy's thinking this place is just straight up depressing. The instructor continues saying there might be some outdated or flat-out incorrect info. That's why he's only going to teach what's necessary for survival. That was the message. He's looking forward to working with everyone over the next 10 days. Everyone starts to get up while Kang is just staring up at the ceiling. That was boring as hell. He thought this was going to be some amazing academy where he'd just get his ID and bounce, but no. It's going to be awful. Then the walking jigger Chad comes over and talks to our guy, introducing himself as Guak Swill. Our boy's trying to figure out who this Jack dude is. They shake hands and Kang Hyun gives his name. The guy grins weirdly. Guak suddenly crushes his hand and tells him he's screwed now. Says if you want to lead in a place like this, you've got to take down the cocky ones right at the start. He's hated this kid ever since that scream, but now he's the one who's confused. Kang's just standing there calm as ever, while he's the one shaking. And then, bam, our boy activates Titan Strength, boosting his muscle power by 12 strength points for 10 minutes. Now it's Guak, who's sweating buckets, trying to understand how he's suddenly losing in a contest of raw power. Up to now, he's dumped all his points into strength, so it shouldn't even be possible. And worst of all, everyone is staring. The poor guy can't take it. He starts making weird faces and, bam, his arm explodes. What the hell? Blood shoots everywhere and the entire room is in shock. That weird blonde kid, he's just sitting there like, somebody kill this maniac already, please. A while later, the guy gets taken away by ambulance. Kang says, you people are all misunderstanding everything. That musclehead came up to me out to nowhere and wanted a handshake, and suddenly, his arm starts swelling and blows up. That's it. Lee Kim-in obviously doesn't buy that for a second, but our guy insists he's telling the truth. He only survived because of that strength-boosting skill that multiplies his power by 1.5. Otherwise, he would gotten hurt too. That's when Lee Hyun notices something odd and asked if his ability wasn't called masculine strength. Our guy says it is. But the blonde reminds him that earlier, he claimed the ability doubled his strength, and now he's saying it's 1.5. Our boy's all awkward, saying he got it wrong because he's bad with numbers. But, yeah, it's either 1.5 or 2. One of those. The blonde just thinks this kid's going to be a real headache. He says he gets it and tells Kang to go back to class. Back inside, Kang's finally thinking he can relax when someone suddenly sits next to him. Of course, it's that damn blonde again and asking if he can sit close. Kang tells him to do whatever he wants, but in his head, he's wondering why he keeps attracting muscle freaks and now delinquents too. Out of nowhere, the guy grabs his hand and introduces himself as Yo-san. He had just turned 18 and was there after completing the tutorial, and now he's already asking how Kang pulled that stunt off. When Kang asks what he's talking about, the crazy dude already blurts out that he wants to know how he made that guy's arm explode like that. It must be some amazing skill. Poor protagonist already knows this guy's not all there either. A while later, Lee Hyun walks into the room, apologizes for the delay, and immediately starts explaining that there are two types of dungeons, regular and irregular. Irregular ones are obviously the most common, and they break after 4 weeks. Break, meaning the monsters start spilling out into the city. Irregular dungeons, on the other hand, can break at unpredictable times. Sometimes it's 4 weeks. Sometimes it's instant right when they appear. To close a dungeon, there are 2 options. The first is to destroy the main core, which is deep inside and extremely hard to find. The second is to destroy the regular core. There are 2, right? And this one just delays the break. Do you think I need to know any of this crap just to kill monsters? I didn't come here to get some useless lectures, says the jacked guy in the back. Our guy starts realizing that every single muscle head in the room is a walking problem, completely forgetting he's also one of the buff guys himself. One of the guards steps in and tells the guy to stop causing trouble or he'll be kicked out. But Kyun says it's okay and asks the guy to come down to the front because it's time for a little lesson. The guy says fine, clearly impressed by how cocky the instructor is. He spreads his arms wide, wanting to know what Hyun plans to do. Lady Kyun says he'll give him 1 minute. During that time, he'll dodge and block all of his attacks. And if the guy manages to even scratch him once, he'll be allowed to graduate. But if he fails, he'll be expelled. Yosung and our boy are just watching from the side, wondering if this guy really has the guts to accept something like that. At the same time, they are kind of hyped. This looks like it's about to get interesting. The muscle head immediately says he's obviously being underestimated. He draws his sword and warns Hyun not to regret it. The guard panics like, "Sir, please," but the guy actually pulls out a real sword. Khan calmly adjusts his glasses and tells him to come at him. The side character instantly loses it and lunges forward, but Hyun easily dodges the first swing and says that kind of attack is way too predictable. Even if he were to strike from behind, a sloppy hit like that wouldn't land on anyone. Looks like we've got another gym freak about to pop AV. He slashes again, but only hits air. He kinda appears behind him and says the problem is that his movements are way too wide. No opponent's going to just stand there waiting to get hit like that. Obviously, Peru. The dude keeps swinging like crazy left and right, putting everything he has into it, but Kyun is just dodging smoothly like it's nothing. Now the guy's all red-faced like a drunk and charges straight in just for Kyun to duck again. And then Kyun casually says that at this rate, he's going down quick. A solid kick knocks the sword out of his hands and drops him to the ground. Then Hyun pulls out his phone and shows that the minute is already up. It actually says 1 minute and 28 seconds. I saw it. Kang's reminded of those pro boxer videos where they dodge every hit. He never imagined someone could actually do something like that to an awakened person. It's clear now there's a massive difference between people's talents and abilities. Watching that speed and reaction time, Kang realizes that even after all the time he spent trapped in the tutorial, he probably had a hard time going up against this guy. He closes his eyes and wonders if it were just the two of them, one-on-one, who would win. It's the same thing that damn blonde Yosung is thinking. Look at him again with that face. Put your tongue back in your mouth already. What the hell is that? Kang sees it too and starts wondering if this guy's a psycho. Clearly, he's already regretting letting that lunatic sit next to him. At the Awakim school, mornings were for theory, and afternoons were all about hands-on training. Kim says that today, they are going to train their skills using each type of weapon. They are supposed to head up to the front and pick their favorite. At first, they can just practice however they want, and then he'll observe and give them some tips depending on what they are doing. Kang grabs a sword and immediately notices it's already all rusted. And right away, that weird blonde kid says that just swinging the sword around like that in the air is way too boring. Why don't they have a little sparring match instead? Of course, our boy agrees instantly. Thank God the blonde declines, saying they'll only be allowed to practice like that after day 6. Phew. The artist would have had every excuse to draw that weirdo with his tongue out again. Honestly, the apocalypse could go ahead and start right now with goblins invading if it meant skipping that scene. That'd be great. Under the blazing sun, everyone's spread out, getting tossed around by the wind. Our guy's watching from the side kind of shocked by how bad everyone is. The average level is way lower than he expected. He wasn't really planning to train, but maybe this can at least serve as a decent warm-up. So he picks up the sword and starts swinging, slashes to the left, right, just practicing his form. Kim glances over and sees the kid going all out with the slashes, then says, "That's not how you fight." One of the guards comes over and tells him he's leaving his defense too open. He needs to adjust the angle of the sword. He might be trying to show off with those flashy moves, but they're useless in a real fight. Our guy is not having it. He's already thinking about killing this guy. Of course, he's only thinking that because he's immortal. Right? Doesn't matter if he gets wrecked. He can just respond the next day. The guard tells him that if he tries that fencing crap inside a dungeon, he's gonna get himself killed. But King grabs him by the collar and asks if he wants to throw down right now. Okay. And maybe he didn't actually do that, or maybe he did. But what really happens is he backs off and says, "All right. I'll keep that in mind." Then the guy claps and calls over Sung Han, the same guard, and gets everyone's attention. He says Kang Hyun and the assistant will now give a demonstration. Kang is obviously confused. Why the hell did it land on him? The blonde hands a sword to the instructor and tells him to use the skill he was asking Kang to show earlier. And, obviously, our boy's supposed to fight however he wants. Yeah. It's pretty clear now the blonde figured out Kang's the real deal and he wants the assistant to learn the hard way. The poor guy's standing there all lost, but the blonde just says, "Go on." The countdown begins. 1, 2, 3. Our boy charges. Kang rushes in and hits him hard right off the bat, throwing the guy off balance. He changes the angle mid-swing, smacks the sword out of the guy's hand, and sends it flying. The assistant's already down. 2 hits. He didn't even try to hurt him. Just disarmed him clean. What a humiliation. The instructor turns to the group and says they need to train the skills that prepare them for real combat. They need to build reflexes to respond immediately to threats. Just like Kang showed, the most important thing is how you respond and start your movements. There's no one perfect form. Nothing's absolute. He asked everyone to give a round of applause while the poor assistant is red as a tomato. He totally got clowned. Kang standing there all proud, but the damn guy didn't understand a thing the instructor said. He just went all in, pure instinct. The instructor walks over to the assistant and apologizes, saying he didn't intend for him to get beat up like that. The guy gets up and says it's fine. He still learned something new from it. Though, yeah, he was definitely surprised. The instructor tells him not to feel embarrassed. He just wanted to confirm something. That damn bastard used Kang's craving for a fight to expose his secrets. And so the next chapter begins, my precious training diary written by Kang Hyun. On the first day, some dude got on his nerves, so he blew up the guy's arm, and the rest of the class was boring as hell. The second day wasn't much better. They trained with some weapons, and Sung seemed to be enjoying himself a little too much. Honestly, he should probably start avoiding that weirdo. On day 3, he realized that this strange guy was the only one actually willing to talk to him, and he was like a mosquito that just wouldn't leave him alone. By the 4th day, he was so bored, he spent the whole time sketching himself cutting off a goblin's head. Day 5, all he wanted was to go home. It was too damn boring. He even collapsed on the ground in the middle of training, just completely done. Day 6 rolls around, and there he is, face planted on the desk. He tells the blonde, come on. Start a fight or something. Do anything to get kicked out and make this place fun. But Yo-sun wants to know why. Wasn't he the one who said they were gonna lay low and graduate quietly? Our boy goes, I'm telling you to make a mess. If you get expelled, that's on you. I'm good. But Sun tells him to chill. It's day 6 after all. They are finally going to have some real sparring matches today, so something good's about to happen. He's got a sixth sense for these things. A bit later during training, some dude takes a hit to the hand, drops his sword, and falls flat. The instructor announces that Kang Hyun is the winner and calls up the next group. As Kang is walking back to his seat, Sung says he's seriously impressed. Kang fights really well. But our guy just shrugs and says it was only because his opponent was weak as hell. Still, while watching the other students, he starts wondering what this weird feeling is. It all looks like child's played him. The average level is way lower than he expected. He doesn't fully understand what each person's talent is, but, apparently, most people don't make it that far up in levels. Worst part, he knows he's going to have to do 2 more of these boring matches before day 8, and they are all so dull. 2 hits and it's over. Up on stage, one guy charges in with a spear while the other just screams like crazy, and Kang's sitting there, barely interested. Damn. This guy actually aimed the spear right at the other's forehead. Good thing the instructor stopped it in time and declared the match over. The winner, Kim Chang-guk. Seeing how fast the instructor reacted, Kang is now excited to fight someone like him. That's when they call Yo-sung's name. He turns to Kang and says he'll be right back. Oddly, he gives this weird little smirk and walks up to the platform all calm. Kang remembers that this creep had said something interesting was going to happen today. He just hopes the guy doesn't start anything and somehow drag him into it. At least the instructor is right there, so technically, nothing should happen. But then, oh boy, the girl steps up, and instead of using a weapon, she pulls out some kind of magical staff. Sure, it has its pros and cons, but in a small space like that, it doesn't seem like the best choice. The instructor asks, didn't your weapon used to be a sword? Why are you using a spiked mace now? Yo-sung just replies, is there a rule saying I can't switch? The instructor says it's fine. Jesus. Kang's starting to get nervous this guy might actually crack her skull open while she's distracted. The instructor begins the countdown. 1, 2, 3. The girl summons some little crystal shards and launches them his way. His mace starts glowing purple, and just like that, he shatters the attack without a problem. He's smiling that creepy smile of his while Kang watches in awe. It's the first time he's seen real magic in action. Apparently, you could learn that back in the tutorial. Weird, though, he never saw anything like that during the martial training. Was the girl hiding her abilities all this time? She's clearly struggling, gripping the staff tightly and triggering something, but the whole thing goes soft and wobbly. Really strange. At the very least, it's unique. She fires off another big crystal attack, but Yo-sung glances off to the side watching the instructor. He raises the mace like he's going to block, but instead, he steps to the side and launches himself straight at her. Kang actually looks shocked by what he's seeing. I thought he was about to smash her in the face with that thing, but turns out he used his mace to deflect her attack and redirect it toward the instructor. Of course, the instructor just dodges it with ease. But in the meantime, Yo-sun rushes in and cracks her right in the middle of the head. Holy hell, what was that? He actually hit her that hard, and now he's standing there celebrating. Dude, I called it, didn't I? I said he was gonna go nuts, but the guy's practically drenched in blood, smiling like he's proud of it. Kang better get away from this lunatic or just take him out seriously for everyone's safety. Thankfully, someone's already calling for an ambulance and saying it's a fractured hand. I don't even know why I'm so worried about this girl, but please don't kill her. I mean it, Blondie. You better not. I just don't like this guy. That's all. The instructor immediately points his massive sword at Yosung's face and demands to know what the hell that was. Obviously, this blood-covered lunatic just says it was an accident. Oops. Sorry. My bad. Totally didn't mean to. The instructor asks if he even hears himself talking. Yosung says, yeah, and throws in a cheeky little wink. The instructor turns away and announces that they'll take a 20-minute break. Everyone has to be back by 3, and Yosung is to follow him. From a distance, Kang's watching all of this and he's got that look like he recognizes that weird glint in the blonde guy's eyes. Even with what just happened, this poor girl getting absolutely wrecked, the training continues like nothing happened for another 2 days. And, no, Yosung wasn't expelled. He just kept training like everything was totally normal. The only difference is that the poor guy who had to spar with him next looked like he was about to crap himself just standing there. Kang even noticed there was a healer already stationed behind the guy just in case. Thanks to that, Dave ended without anything major happening, or at least it should have. Here's our boy, 500 kilos of muscle, calling out to Kim Lee-hyun. Says, hey, training's almost over. Wouldn't now be the perfect time for us to have a real sword fight? The instructor tells him to quit bothering him. They just need to wait 2 more days and it'll all be over. But Kang, curious as ever, asks if he's not getting tired of all these kiddie games. He can tell that Kim must be itching for a real fight too. Kang's sure that sitting there reading papers and doing admin stuff doesn't really suit him. So he leans in close and says he knows they've met before, and that clearly hit a nerve. Instructor loses his composure. Later, out on the training field, Kim Lee-hyun says it all makes sense now. So it was him from before. He thanks Kang for the help back then since it apparently prevented a bunch of casualties. Kang's just relieved the guy didn't mention that item he snatched and bolted with. Then Kim Lee-hyun casually says that for someone who only made it to stage 5, he's got a pretty nice sword. Wait, what kind of comment is that? Complimenting his sword like that? And he knows that blade only drops in stage 6. Kang shrugs it off, says he found it lying on the ground. Same excuse as always. Kim opens the system and says, it's fine. I can already tell you're not gonna be honest no matter what I ask. Then he draws his sword and says that in that case, he'll fight with something he just happened to find too. And just like that, bam, the guy vanishes. A second later, he's already behind our muscle boy. Kang spins around, barely reacting in time to block the attack. The guy moved like a damn phantom. Kim compliments him saying he thought Kang was just a myth head, but his reflexes are impressive too. Our boy replies that he's been through too much in life to ever let himself be an easy target again. The Dan instructor disappears once more, saying that if that's the case, then there's no reason to hold back. The guy's using that phantom technique striking from every angle, but Kang's holding him back. Kim Lee-hyun's stunned. He can't believe this kid, fresh out of the tutorial, is managing to keep up with everything being thrown at him. Kang, on the other hand, is getting cut off all over and still muttering, this is what a real fight feels like. I'm honestly scared to see what is gonna look like 15 chapters from now. Dude's gonna be 7 meters tall, weighing in at 700 kilos of muscle, and have the face of a cold-blooded killer, and the instructor's still shocked. The boy's regeneration was just as crazy as it looked. Kim shifts his grip on the sword and says that if that's the case, he doesn't need to hold back anymore. He launches his straight-on attack, saying he's about to create an opening that's impossible to dodge. Kang sees it coming and smiles. He blocks it by throwing his own arm into the blade. Kim Lee-hyun can't believe it. He can feel the bones in the kid's forearm cracking while this psycho just grins at him. Then Kang hits him with a gotcha, grabs him, clenches the sword with his bone, and headbutts him hard. Kim's knock off balance and goes down. Yeah, he really lost. But, hey, no one was gonna beat that lunatic anyway. A while later, Kim's sitting there with some ice on his face, sipping a soda, saying that Kang is seriously weird. Way too strong. Kang replies that Kim's pretty strong too. Plus, in training match like this, you're not supposed to use your skills directly, though, technically, Kim did use his. Kim says that in that case, he's the winner. Obviously, Kang isn't having it. They go back and forth until finally Kim gets up and thanks him, says it was a great match to blow off steam. Now he's gonna head back to his room and get a good night's sleep because tomorrow, it's dungeon day. And, apparently, there's a hooded figure already planning to cause trouble in the exact dungeon they are headed to. The guy turns invisible, opens the gate, and slips inside. Next day, here they are standing right in front of that same gate. The dungeon is being used as a training ground for the academy. That's what the instructor says. It's an F-rank zone called the Keika Forest. And surprise, the monsters here are called Keika monsters, mid-tier F-rank creatures. This place was chosen because, first, it doesn't have major traps and the monsters follow a pretty standard pattern. Second, Keka monsters don't form groups so you can fight them one at a time, which is way safer for beginners. The rest of the details would be explained inside. The gate opens and Kang's hiked. It's his first dungeon since coming back to the real world. He never actually walked through one of these gates before. Strangely, the feeling you get when crossing it is like floating. Your vision blurs for a second and the moment your feet touch solid ground again, you open your eyes to a completely different place. Kang's just standing there amazed by the island. He asks how they are supposed to get back. Of course, Dan Yo-sung immediately answers that this was all explained in class. And, obviously, our boy didn't listen to a single lesson. Kim Lee-hyun steps in and says that first, they are going to hunt one monster together so everyone can see how it's done. After that, they'll split into groups and start the real hunt. He calls one of the instructors and tells him to lure over a couple of kicker. They are moving into a good area for combat, and Kim says he'll keep explaining once they are in the middle of it. The kicker look like oversized birds. They are known for their fast legs and super hard beaks, sharp enough to pierce metal. The standard strategy is to surround them so they don't know which direction to run. But just then, a system message pops up. The main core has been destroyed. The exit portal has opened. This dungeon is about to collapse. Everyone must evacuate. The entire place starts cracking apart, and Kim Lee-hyun tells everyone to stay calm and head toward the exit since the place is about to collapse. They had enough time, so there was no need to panic. Outside, everyone's gathered clearly confused. They came out to train. So what the hell just happened? Kimberly Hyman does a quick head count and sees that apparently everyone made it out safely. But what he really wants to know is who the hell finished that dungeon. Then one of the instructors suddenly calls out to him. When he looks over, the dungeon gate is now emitting a dark, eerie light like some kind of portal. The instructor's face changes instantly, and he immediately orders reinforcements and tells all the trainees to step away from the gate. It wasn't just a collapse. This was a gate break. Kang asks what that means, and the guy is already thanking God he's there. He tells him a whole horde of monster is about to come pouring out, and they are going to need his help to handle it. Clearly, our boy is ridiculously uninformed. He didn't even know what a gate break was. Turns out someone destroyed the main core without killing the monsters. So now all the creatures are getting forcibly ejected out of the dungeon. I'm explaining it for you here. Meanwhile, the instructor is asking Kang if he really didn't learn this in class. Kang goes, "Of course, I did. I was just testing you to see if you knew." The instructor tells him to cut the crap, especially because the monsters are already here. Right then, the first kicker shows up. The instructor rushes in, telling Kang, "Good luck. Hope you can handle this," and runs off to prep the rest of the group. Now our boy's standing there staring at a horde of creatures. He's like, how the hell am I supposed to deal with all of this by myself? Still, he's grinning, hyped up, yelling for them to come at him. That's when Dan Busum shows up, slamming his mace straight into the first one's skull. Thank God he's not drooling or blushing right now. Honestly, that's already a win. Kang asks, "What's up with this lunatic, laughing like the damn Joker out of nowhere?" And just because I said that, yeah, here he goes again. Tongue out, blushing, saying crushing a skull with a mace is the best feeling ever. I've got the same expression Kang's making right now, disgusted, horrified, completely over it. And now the blonde sec goes in the middle of the battlefield yelling that he's not keeping fun to himself. Kanjen draws his sword and says, "Well, at least the maniac's on my side," and charges into the fray, slashing down monsters left and right. Yusung's just watching, impressed. Our boy shouts that no one's got his back out there. He fights solo, then activates Lion's Roar, calling out all the bastards. Suddenly, all the monsters in the area take a hit to their stats and morale. Debuff activated. Everyone around seems to notice that out of nowhere, the fight got a little easier. And, of course, the always attentive instructor notices right away. This was a debuff aura. Seeing how the group was holding their ground, he figured they'd last until reinforcements arrived. The only issue now, Kang doesn't faint. He's right there raising in style, exploding enemies with a punch, but it wrecks his whole hand. "What the hell is this?" he mutters. "Guess it's usable. For someone like me, he's basically immortal, so it works for him. But for anyone else, this would be completely unviable." Yo-sung instantly wants to know what that skill is and if Kang had access to something special in the tutorial. Kang just tells him it's a little secret. But right then, his expression changes. In the middle of all those monsters, a mutant kicker appears. Clearly, the dungeon boss. This was exactly what Hyun didn't want to happen. The boss showing up before support, terrible timing. Even with Kang there, this wasn't going to be like fighting normal monsters. A boss fight was a whole other thing. He sees the two of them standing there, Kang and Yo-sung, and is sure they won't make it. But then he catches a look at their faces and now Kang, for some ungodly reason, has started sticking his tongue out. "Put that thing away, kid." The next chapter kicks off saying that tomorrow is celebration day. They finished everything. Someone brings up the dungeon incident, and Lee Hyun explains that it turns out someone had entered the gate before they went in, which triggered the break. Most likely, it was the work of those dungeon terrorists that had been popping up over the past month. Looks like it's a girl speaking now. Aside from our guy's sister, women are clearly in short supply in this world. She asks if any of the students stood out. Lee Yun says yes. 2 weird ones. The 2 who worked together to take down the break boss. One of them had absolutely insane physical strength. His power and reflexes were on par with that monster. But the strangest thing about him was his regeneration. He was oddly aggressive and had zero fear of injury. On top of that, he never seemed to tire. His fighting style was completely unpredictable, which made him hard to deal with. He just didn't care about anything. The other student was the total opposite, more of the typical genius type, a standout with natural combat talent. Quick thinker, sharp reactions. The only issue was his unusual tendency toward violence. The woman says that setting all that aside, it's rare to see him giving out so much praise. She asks if he already sent an offer to recruit them. He reminds her that recruiting students at this stage is strictly prohibited. She looks like she wants to complain, but he cuts her off, saying he's just following the rules, just like the guild leader herself. And that would be her, Hansen, leader of the Dangdan Guild. She's got that Yandia look in her eyes, and for some reason, she doesn't seem like the most mentally stable guild master out there. Then again, let's be real. No one in this story seems particularly sane. Cut to the graduation ceremony. Some old guy gives a speech congratulating them on the 10 days they spent training and becoming full-fledged hunters. That wraps up their official entry into the Hunter's Wall. Kang is surprised to see there's actually another person working here besides Kim Lee Hyun. As soon as he steps outside, he jumps because a damn butler shows up to let Yusum know his car has arrived. And this lunatic drives a BMW, apparently covered in diamonds. Our boy is just standing there shocked that this freak is actually rich. Yusum casually tells him to hop in. He's giving him a ride home. Kang just goes with it and starts getting in until someone suddenly calls out to him. It's Kim Lee Hyun saying he wants to talk. Kang points at him like a little kid saying he didn't know the guy could be this friendly. Kim explains that because they helped defeat the dungeon boss during the break, both of them would receive a reward. Someone would reach out to them soon, so we should keep that in mind. Kang seems a little disappointed. He thought the guy had more to say, but Kim just turns around and starts walking away. Kang yells after him, telling him to compliment him properly. So the blonde turns around and gives him that speech. He admits that Kang is strong and that he's only going to keep getting stronger. He wouldn't be surprised if he started seeing his name pop up in dungeon reports all over the place soon, but he should never forget the responsibility that comes with strength. He was a true awaken now. And why the hell did he put that weird thing on his face? He's walking through the room, telling his sister to take a look at the kid. He's got serious potential. She obviously couldn't care less. He tells her to stop underestimating him because starting tomorrow, Kang was going to be clearing dungeon after dungeon. That's when Kang stops and wonders, how does he even find dungeons? Like, are they on Google Maps or something? His sister says there's apparently a site for awakened people called Raiders where you can see that kind of stuff. He grabs his phone saying he's never even heard of it. She must be some kind of expert. She's just there wondering how her brother keeps getting dumber by the day. At least when he used to just sit in his room playing games, he seemed a little smarter. But now as he scrolls through the app, our boy sees info on maps, monsters, and team recruitment. He remembers the Cake of Forest was an F-rank dungeon, and something like that he could easily handle solo. Maybe this was the perfect time to earn a fat paycheck and show off to his mom. On TV, they mentioned that the reward for clearing low-tier dungeons could go up to $20,000. And now there was this new hot item, mana stones. They were pulling serious attention and they came with bonus payouts. Basically, if you were a hunter, making money wasn't that hard. Cut to a familiar older guy, our boy's dad, calling out to his wife, asking if she talked to their son. She says yes. He transferred $10,000 for her to spend however she wanted. Apparently, he even bought a car last week. Looks like time has passed. The dad's impressed. Finally, the kid's making more money than him, but the mom's still worried. She knows a lot of people get hurt or worse in this kind of work. She just hopes nothing bad happens to him. The dad says to let the kid live his life better than being some unemployed adult sitting around. Besides, he heard that hunters go in groups, teams, even, so he's sure there's nothing to worry about. Their son wouldn't do anything reckless. He's probably got everything under control. Strangely enough, the mom agrees. She says he's always been a brilliant kid. Obviously, they haven't seen what their son's really become these past 18 chapters. He's in the dungeon completely alone, slicing through everything, saying this is nothing, laughing like the Joker in a cave. Outside, his brand new car, a Bentley, Hates a call from his mom, but he's not picking up. The dad says it's whatever. They'll try it again in the morning. The mom says okay, but she didn't want to mention something, that weird gate that opened in front of the grocery store. The dad says not to worry. The government will send someone soon. She thinks maybe they should ask their son to come over with his team. The dad shuts that down quick. Definitely not a good idea. Meanwhile, guess what's happening? Yep, that dungeon gate. It's opening, and a whole swarm of orcs starts pouring out. And, of course, the boss is right there with them. Back to our boy. Dawn is breaking, and he's just cleared another dungeon. He'd spent the whole night fighting. Now he's wondering if he should try one more, maybe a rank E, or if that would be pushing it. He decides to take a break. Besides, he still doesn't know if resurrection actually works in real life. After all, he did die once. But the moment he opens his car and checks his phone -36 missed calls from his sister, he calls her back asking what happened, and all he hears is scream. She's shouting something about their mom and dad. We don't hear exactly what, but judging by his expression, it's bad, really bad. On the news, they are saying the government is doing everything it can in response to the dungeon break. The Ministry of National Defense is assembling a task force to minimize casualties. The problem? Some civilians were still trapped inside the affected area. That's why they had to call in the Dangan Guild. At the same time, our boy gets home, throws on his armor, and heads out. His sister asks if he's really going to do this. He tells her not to worry. He's Kang Hyun, a tutorial graduate. She can relax. He'll handle everything. She tells him to be careful and stop acting like some hotshot trying to get attention. He just says, "Don't worry," and waves goodbye. Slams the door, tells her he'll be back soon with their mom and dad, then floors it down the highway, face serious, ready for war. On the way, the cops try to stop him, saying he can't go any farther and needs to turn around. He just flashes that shiny little ID card. He's a registered awaken now. And just like that, the beast rolls through. The guy told him to be careful, so Kang saluted and hit the gas. While speeding down the road, he mutters to himself that it looks like 5 gate breaks happened at the same time. Even rank E dungeons were starting to collapse now before and only been the F ranks. He just needed them to hold out until he got there. Problem was he wasn't sure he'd make it in time. But then out of nowhere, a mutant boar comes crashing in, slams into a nearby car, and sends it flying. What the hell? Kang walks out of the wreck like it's nothing, pulls out his sword, and tells the bastard to come at him because today's the day he gets his revenge. But then the creature snorts and Kang realizes it's way bigger than any monster he's ever seen before. Right then, though, he hears shouting coming from the end of the street. He glances over. Goblin horde. He wonders if he murdered the Goblin King in a past life because these damn things show up every time. So he turns and starts running, saying there's a saying, the best revenge is forgiveness. Of course, the board charges after him, but weirdly, the goblin starts shooting it with arrows. Kang cheers. If these bastards want to fight, let them fight each other. Back he expected. Apparently, these monster races are aggressive toward one another. Problem is it's getting dark. Wait, how long has he been in this forest? He left the dungeon in the morning, which means he's been out here for hours. His battery's dying. He can't use his flashlight, and it's getting harder and harder to find the right path. Then once again, he senses something approaching from behind. What now? He spins, swings his sword, and slices through a wolf. Thank God it was just a wolf. Though, honestly, if it had been a person, they'd be dead. He realizes it attacked him invisible, and the only reason he landed the hit was pure instinct. Then he feels more movement coming from the sides. He's surrounded again. Let the boy save his parents. Damn it. At least he's trained now. He draws his sword and shreds everything around him, and now he's into it. He's yelling at them to bring it on, all of it. By the next morning, he's still in the forest, waking up in a pile of wolf blood. He fought all night through the dawn and only now gets to catch his breath, but it's time to get moving again. Back at his parents' house, so trying to reach him. His mom's texting while the dad tells her to keep quiet. He asks if Kang's still not responding. She says it's weird. The sister had told her he was on his way, but now it's feeling too risky. The dad who earlier said everything was fine doesn't sound so confident anymore. Those monsters, orcs they are called, have been showing up since yesterday, and, apparently, even high-level hunters are struggling with them. The news is they came from an F-rank dungeon, supposed to be weak, but, clearly, that's not the case. And there's another thing, some terrifying figure out there in the streets, a monster that's killing monsters. The dad watches from the window, squinting at this lone figure and muttering, "There's no way. No way my son could be doing that. Oh, just wait till he finds out." Our boy had turned that entire street into a war zone. 15 orcs were easy for him to handle solo, but more were coming around the corner. And oddly enough, these weren't normal ones. There were 3 warrior-class orcs. As far as he knew, those were supposed to be bosses. Maybe this was actually a rank E dungeon, not if like he thought. Suddenly, he shouts out calling for his mom and dad. Their son had arrived to save them. His mom stares at the figure squinting, wondering if that thing was really her child. And the dad's standing there like, what the hell happened over the past few months? But, Kang, he's already dashing forward. The Gorks come screaming. He rushes in, blocks the first attack. Another one stabs at him, but he ducks under it and blasts a crater into the monster's jaw. With one down, he grabs the sword of another. But just then, he takes a punch that shatters his bone. But this kid is unstoppable. He's died so many times that now he just keeps going, stabs another monster, tosses it into the air like it's nothing. Another goes down, and he literally makes his fist. Then boom. He activates mana explosion inside the creature's skull, and yeah, it was expected, but still, bloodbath. And now he's completely surrounded. Must be around 200 of them. Bro, where are South Korea's awakened hunters at right now? Hello. Of course, in the middle of all that, one of them stomps the ground so hard it shakes everything. Kang looks up, and damn, that thing is huge. A great orc warrior. Well, at least the name fits. Our boy immediately knows. That's the leader of the pack, and he's ugly. Kang wanted to save his mana for regeneration, but it's time to pull out Titan strength. His muscles tighten. He inhales deep, and then he roars. Lion's roar activated. He calls all the bastards to come at him and then promptly gets decked in the face and falls over like a damn idiot. Apparently, they surrounded him like a Fight Club circle, pushing him into a one-on-one. He realizes these monsters are actually toying with him. They are taking turns, punch to the face, kick to the gut, smash to the floor. Worst part, his man is out. His body isn't regenerating anymore, and is still not entirely sure that he'll actually resurrect in real life. But is not in the mood to find out, so he stands up, mop teeth in his mouth, blood everywhere, and roars back. I'm not leaving my familiola here. He charges again, but then he spots them, goblins climbing toward his parents' window. He freezes for a second and screams, "Don't you dare go yoop there." He sprints over, but they grab his back. He slashes another down, but the biggest orc slams his head straight into the ground. His vision fades. He mutters he can't die here. And then the golden slash tears through the monster. Someone arrived, and she's badass. It's our new guild leader, Hansen, everyone, and she's brutal and beautiful. She turns around and someone reports that their team just secured the safe zone. She asks about the civilians and the guy says most have been evacuated. She's a bit shaken. The damage is worse than expected, but at least someone managed to gather the orcs in one place and make the job easier. She then asks, where's the guy who was holding them back until we arrived? The guy replies, unfortunately, he didn't make it. She nods and says, I understand. Don't toss any bodies away. Treat him with respect. He's a hero. Then she glances down, and the body's gone. Cut to Kang opens his eyes. Where? We don't know. Chapter ends. Next chapter. There he is, our boy, lying under the same tree he last slept at. Resurrection activated. He barely escaped the crisis. Because he hadn't set a location, he respawned in the last place he'd rested. But now for the next 24 hours, he's at 50% strength, and he lost one level, meaning one attribute point gone. Immediately, his memory flashes back to the goblin near his parents' window. It's been 24 hours. He grabs his sword and runs, saying he has to find out what happened or at least kill those monsters. Problem is his body feels heavy as hell. That's the cost of resurrection. After 5 hours of running with that exhausted body, he arrives only to find his parents' house abandoned and empty. He's devastated. He turns around and starts heading home. On the way, he runs into a group of soldiers. He asks to borrow a phone. When he finally calls Hyan, he finds out his father lost an arm. His mother is in a coma. And then 2 months pass. On the news, they announce that Hansen, the leader of the Dangan Guild, has entered yet another dungeon. This one, rank C. At the exact same time, Kang is seen heading out. His sister asks if he's really going into another dungeon. He says, yeah. He's going again. His sister tells him to be more careful. It feels like he's died 3 times just this week. While she's trying to say that what happened wasn't his fault, he just closes the door behind him and heads down the stairs. She opens the door and just stands there, staring at her brother, not even knowing what to say anymore. Meanwhile, in the dungeon known as Antria, a blonde dude is slicing through giant ants and leveling up fast. The others in his group congratulate him saying he levels like crazy. Not surprising. He's the strongest one in the party. But this guy, he's smug, thinking to himself how these fools have no clue he's part of the elite, someone who made it to stage 5 unlike all these losers. Still, he plays friendly, turns around the smile and says, it's all thanks to you guys. Couldn't have done it without such an amazing team. Yeah. Real piece of work. That's when they all hear something weird. They look to the side, and it's Kang, sword half broken, sprinting like a madman. They are all like, is this lunatic charging into the dungeon alone? He blows past them. The blonde calls out saying that way leads to the core. It's suicide. Kang doesn't even respond. Now the group's debating. Do they follow him? Do they head back? Their leader says they'll follow for now. If anything starts going south, they pull out immediately and leave the guy to his fate. Back with Kang, he's already surrounded by a swarm of ant soldiers, basically giant armored ants. He activates a skill called Wayne's Secret Technique, an E-rank ability that boosts all attributes by 40% except mana. The downside, it physically destroys the body over time. Classic berserker stuff. Right. The ants all swarm him, but Kang's smiling like a maniac, slashing everything in sight. Within seconds, it's just a pile of bodies. The group in the back is completely stunned. Kang walks for the core, commenting that this newly acquired skill pairs perfectly with his regeneration. Turns out, not long ago, he upgraded his recovery to rank A. Then someone calls out, it's the blonde guy, asking if he's okay. Kang just replies, yeah, and keeps walking. Doesn't say anything else, just grabs the core and says, later, and walks off. The team finds it odd. He hadn't taken any of the loot from the monsters. They all go collecting, figuring he's just some dumbass who doesn't understand money. But Kang's walking off, mumbling to himself that he doesn't have time to care about stuff like that. What he needs is strength. He leaves and the group's still standing there, confused, trying to figure out who that madman even was. The blonde just shrugs, says he doesn't care. It got rich thanks to him, and that's good enough. As they are leaving, the bald guy speaks up. Maybe that's him, that guy they talk about, the one who raids dungeons alone. The blonde scoffs. No way. That's just a rumor, and this is a rank E dungeon, not some F-level walkthrough. No one solos this kind of thing. Now you're gonna Han Sayang, and she's the strongest around right now. But right then, it's just a message. The core has been removed. The portal is now open. Of course, Kang had already cleared the whole place. Now he's sitting on top of a giant and corpse, flipping through a book he found. Integument of Antrea, an Averang skill book that teaches how to use the integument, a kind of hardened outer skin. Basically, body armor mode. Honestly, it's like turning your whole body into Viagra. But Kang's problem is that juggling all these constantly active skills is getting rough. Adding another one that has to stay on, kinda pointless. More and more abilities weren't making him better. They were just overloading him. Just like Bill Gaines' sword and the Berserker ability, this one was kind of a waste on someone who already had insane regeneration, especially since the last time he went berserk. He completely lost control and nearly got himself killed. But now wasn't the time for regrets. The only thing he could do was become stronger no matter the cost. With no better options, he just goes ahead and learns the skill. Outside the dungeon, a couple of reporters are gathered talking about the rumors of a man who clears dungeons all by himself, and word was he had entered this one today. The blonde guy tells them it's not anyone from his group, and then he points. The monster was coming out. Kang steps through the gate in full lazy swagger mode, one hand on his neck, glaring like he didn't get enough sleep. He clearly didn't want any attention, but, boom, he's instantly swarmed by reporters, cameras, questions flying from every angle, business cards being shoved in his face. He's just walking through the chaos when he bumps into some guy. The dude asked, "Hey, what was that for?" Kang just stares him down and says, "What are you gonna do about it?" The guy immediately freaks out and apologizes. And just like that, our boy walks away, leaving everyone with the sinking feeling that if they even breathe wrong, they die on the spot. He reaches his car, opens the door, muttering how these people are wasting his time for absolutely nothing. Then someone calls his name. He turns around, another one. The guy calmly says, "Relax. I'm here to help you." He hands over a card. The name reads Sun Yun Ho from the Awakened Association. The guy tells Kang they've been watching him for a while, and if he ever wanted to join, he'd get access to all their resources. No need to answer now. Just call anytime. He does a polite thank you and disappears before Kang can even say a word. The Awaken Association, they are different from the guilds. They are not all about money. They focus on scouting talent and national defense. Kang didn't even know they recruited like that. And honestly, watching him eat that cup, raiment, just made me crave it too. While he's sitting there munching, a woman tells her daughter not to get close, says that man is a monster. But Kang's deep in thought, his biggest issue right now is mana. Maintaining regeneration, Wayne's technique, and berserker mode all at once was becoming impossible. He had to keep rotating between them, and it was starting to get inefficient. After digging around online, he knows what he needs, an item that restores mana. He checks the market to browse the listings, but finds nothing that's actually useful. Looks like he can only equip 4 items with active effects no matter what type they are. He's not looking for some weak little item that adds +1 or +2 to his stats. He needs something good, something that'll last. That's when he spots a post -128 views from someone claiming to have info about a dungeon that drops a ring that boosts magic power. Next day, he's reading the guy's follow-up comment. Apparently, it's an E-rank dungeon called Goblin Village located in Hannam. Bro, this artist really has a thing for goblins. The post says that the shamans in that area have a small chance to drop the ring. Usually, the ring gives +1 or +2 to magic power, but there's a rare version that can give +4. And rumor has it, if you kill the Grand Shaman, the boss of the dungeon, you might get something even better, but no one's sure. A bunch of people are apparently using the place to farm, but the guy's worried about a possible dungeon break. So if he shared the info, hoping someone would finish it soon, Kang shows up at the site, but the gate looks abandoned. He expected there to be guards or a line since so many people were supposed to be farming it, but nope, no one in sight. Sophie shrugs, opens the gate, and steps through. On the other side, he finds himself in what looks like a forest and immediately runs into the trio of trouble. Yo, my guy. You're rocking some pretty sweet gear. We are gonna make a killing today, says the one with the greasy hair. His buddy smirks. Yeah, today's bonus is gonna hit nice. And the last one, the crazy girl says, I dreamed of a big fat pig last night. I've got good feeling. Oh, great. She's completely unhinged. The idiot stands up and says, Kid, don't you know this is Bait Guild territory? Cadding just gives him a look. Then the girl chimes in and asking if he has any clue what happens when someone trespasses on a guild's turf without permission. According to her, he has to hand over everything he's got if he wants to leave alive. 1 second later, boom, one of them's already been launched across the area, crashing into the ground, foaming at the mouth. Kang's just standing there, arm outstretched. The other two quickly open their system windows. One of them charges with a sword, but Kang grabs the blade with his bare hand. Snap. Crushed it like a twig, and then straight kick to the gut, sent the guy rolling like a barrel. The girl tries to jump in with some magic, firing a spell from behind, but it barely does anything. She's pale now, trembling, realizing she's in real trouble. Let's see if Kang hits both genders the same. He approaches her slowly, saying he actually learned something useful from her. Then he gently takes her hand and says, in return, I'll teach you something good too. He activates his skill, and her arm explodes. Yeah, no special treatment here. Just then, he notices a larger group approaching. He squints and asks, who are these guys? One of them steps forward and says, pretty bold of you to act like this in Bait's territory. If he wants to walk out a lie, he'd better give up everything. Kang shrugs. Perfect. I needed some guides anyway. One of the Bait guys starts going off. The tutorial changed my life. In the dungeons, strength and cash rule everything. I was just another tool of society until last year. Now I live large, thanks to this new world. As an executive in Bait, I'm a tiger with wings. Nothing scares me here, so you better hand over your stuff if you wanna leave breathing. Before he even finishes, wham, a giant hand smacks him across the face. Lights out. When he opens his eyes, everyone has passed out. Kang, annoyed, is pulling a knife out of his side, pointing to the one still awake. You have 5 seconds to get over here. Whoever doesn't line up in time dies. I need a guide. Time passes. Eventually, Kang announces the results of his selection process. Congratulations, Kim-sun. You've been chosen as the guide. Everyone, give him a round of applause. Silence. So Kang slaps someone. Suddenly, clap, clap, clap. They are all applauding like their lives depend on it because they do. One guy nervously asks, Sir, what's gonna happen to us now? Kang pauses, then asks, Are you all gonna stop doing bad things and live honest lives from now on? Huge smiles all around. Yes, sir. Of course. We'll never do anything bad again. Smack. Right to face. Yeah. Right, Kang says. You think I'm buying that crap? No chance. He beats the guy until he's purple and unconscious. Then he calls for Kim-sun. Show me the way. As the sun sets, Kang remarks that not every dungeon is like this, but some have layouts and scales as large as cities. After hours of walking, he turns to Sun. Hey, you're not just making us walk in circles, are you? Sun quickly denies it. No way, I wouldn't wanna stay here longer than I have to. I'm just following the safe path around the monsters. Hang sighs. You idiot. Stop following that useless route. Go in a straight line. I'll handle the monsters. Sun hesitates. Okay then. If that's how you want it, we'll do it your way tomorrow. While they stopped for a quick meal, the guy kept wondering why our boy used 4 swords just to build a simple support for the fire. Not long after, things were starting to heat up, and our boy pulls something out of the makeshift oven barehanded, gripping the hot metal like it's nothing. He's munching down and casually asks the guy, So how old are you? 25, the guy replies. Kang follows up. What were you doing before all this mess? The dude hesitates, clearly uncomfortable, and says he was just desperate for money. His student loan debt piled up, and he couldn't find work anywhere. To make things worse, his dad's business went under, and the whole situation went downhill. His mom had a breakdown over it all, but Kang cuts him off. Who the hell asked for your sob story? The guy blinks thinking, didn't you just ask me? But Kang's already waving him off. Just eat and stop whining. They finish eating then lie down for the night. Kang wraps himself in a weird cocoon of blankets like some warm creature. The other guy's stuck with a thin cover, shivering underneath. In the middle of the night, he gets up. Looking at our boy sleeping like that, he thinks, this might be my only shot to kill him. But just remembering how that psycho fights, nope. Probably a terrible idea. Better to just run. The moment he takes a step, Kang's voice cuts through the silence. Where do you think you're going? The guy stammers, Jay just going to pee. Kang shrugs. Cool. Go right here then. And just to be clear, if he tries to run, Kang will hunt him down and kill him. So yeah, the guy lies back down and doesn't even blink the rest of the night. Next morning, he's guiding Kang again. Finally, they reach the direction of the goblin village. Kang says he can feel a ridiculous amount of mana pulsing from that direction. The guy looks around confused. I don't feel anything. Kang just looks at him like he's trash. It's amazing how weak and useless you are. The poor guy can only laugh nervously and try not to cry. Still, deep down, he's thinking, all I gotta do is survive a little longer. Once this freak walks in there, he's dead meat. The dungeon is a massive village with patrols circling the outskirts. The Bait Guild guys usually farm those patrols since the center is way too dangerous. But lately, Bait hasn't launched any raids for days, so not only are there monsters swarming the forest, the goblin base itself is probably overflowing. Kang walks straight into a goblin army, grins like a maniac, draws his sword, and says, "Goblin massacres are my specialty." A massive battalion comes charging from the base, and Kang's just getting hyped. But right then, a backpack smacks him from behind. It's Sung, flipping him off. Go die in that hellhole. Hope I never see that ugly face again. Kang just turns with that pure psycho look in his eye. When I'm done here, I will find you. Meanwhile, Sung sprints through the woods, heart pounding. He stops to catch his breath and thinks, there's no way even that monster survives this. But then, ding, a system window pops up, main core destroyed, portal to outside world opened. They just stare at the message, then look at each other like, is this some kind of dream? The Goblin Village's E-rank dungeon wasn't your typical kind with a regular core. That's because all the forces were actually concentrated on defending the center. Even so, my guy, the message still popped up, it was done. The core had been destroyed, and the portal was open. He's just standing there staring at the portal in front of him, shaking like crazy. That bastard actually handled the whole thing on his own, but he has no idea how anyone could possibly pull that off alone against that ridiculous number of enemies. He saw the kid's strength, and even though the kid was strong, it just didn't seem like enough. Kang chimes in saying the guy doesn't have the firepower to wipe everything out. Sure, he's powerful, but that's not the point of this mission, my dude. What really matters here is absolute defense. The kid's pushing forward, torn up and full of cuts, but somehow he's healing as he goes, just marching straight ahead. The only way he could have done it that fast is by heading directly in a straight line toward the High Shaman. And Kim Song, that guy's freaking out now realizing that bastard didn't just survive. He pushed through all of it without even blinking. Right in front of the boss, Kevin says the answer's always the same. Brute strength solves everything, and he goes straight for the boss's mouth with his hand. I mean, his hand goes to the boss's mouth, not his mouth to the boss's hand. Anyway, the High Shaman dies. He scores a shiny little stone and a +0 ring. It boosts mana regeneration and gives him +4 to magic power. The little rascal's already loading up his fingers with rings, looking all excited. Now it's time to take down that bastard Kim Sun. But as soon as he steps out of the portal, a little squad's waiting for him outside. First thing he does is ask the air bandit what the hell the whole squad's doing there. Obviously, he's already got a pretty good idea. He starts scanning the crowd and, yep, spots the big shot right there among them. And just like that, our boy perks up, clearly itching to crack someone in the skull. But suddenly, someone steps forward with a smile, saying there's been a little misunderstanding. The guy walks up and says they're not gonna fight, just want to have a quick chat. He thinks the guild members made a mistake, but is here now, Yo Yun from the Bait Guild, and he wants to know the kid's name. Kang though isn't interested in sharing. He tells them to cut the crap and just say what they came for. So Hyen goes straight to the point. They want the kid to join the Bark Guild, a place where fame and fortune would be within his reach. They'd even give him an executive title. Kang's standing there all smug, fully aware the kid's a rare talent, a hidden gem. Having someone like him on their side would be perfect to boost the guild's influence. But, of course, Kang just flat out says he's not interested. Kang reaches into his pocket like he expected that and pulls out a gold card, telling him to reach out whenever he changes his mind. The kid gives it a glance, tears it in half, and drops it right on the ground. Says that, sure, his personality might be trash, but even he wouldn't stoop down to their level. Everyone's frozen, and he steps right up to the guy's face asking if he's pissed and looking to start a fight. But Hyen just says no. It's all good. He just wanted to talk today. That's all. No fighting here. Our boy walks off calling them a bunch of cowards, cool to even muster the guts to pick a fight, those pathetic losers. And Kim Soon, he's standing there like, that lunatic's completely out of his damn mind. Seems like it really shook him up, but we cut back to our guy saying he almost got wrecked that time. There were over 100 enemies in front of him, and he was pretty much out of mana. If they had gone for real, he probably would have died and lost 40 hours of his life. And to top it all, he missed his chance to finish off that bastard, but don't worry. His time's coming. Back at the bait guild, the bruised guy says it was Sun himself who suggested he'd serve the kid and help guide him through the forest and everything else. Yui Hinman asks if that's true. Sun tries to backpedal. One of the guys has already pulled out a sword. The poor guy starts begging for mercy, swearing he'll do anything if they just don't kill him. The guy asks if he really means anything, and when he nods, the other one snaps, demanding how accursed traitor Laken can still want to live. He grabs him, kicks him hard, and sends him flying. Actually, not just into the water. He gets thrown straight into the dungeon and they slam the gate shut behind him. What the hell was that? Oh right. For some reason, my brain keeps assuming everyone comes back to life in this world, but the only one who actually does is the protagonist. So yeah, that guy really died. And just like that, you stole our boy's chance at revenge. Bastard. The leader tells someone to pick up the guy's sword and dig up everything they can on the one who is in the dungeon. And, of course, someone's already tailing our boy's car. Not shitty at all. Meanwhile, the leader's talking about how that brat had the guts to turn down his offer. He can act all high and mighty if he wants. He is powerful. But what about the people around him? Are they that strong too? If they can't control the kid, they just need to get to one of his weak points. Let's see how long he keeps up that cocky attitude. Oh no. Don't go down that path, or you'll turn him into something even worse. At a cozy little Korean restaurant, our boy is eating with his sister. She says she never thought her lazy brother, who used to stay locked in his room all day, would actually take her out for something nice. He tells her, of course, he's going to spend his money here. Nothing in life is more important than food. She asked him to pass the tongs and he changes the subject, asking how things went at the hospital. How's their mom doing? She explains the doctor said their mom seems stable and should be waking up soon. He smiles, saying that's great news. She says she's genuinely surprised. It's been a while since she's seen him this relaxed. Lately, he always seems angry or on edge. He says he's been smiling, but she tells him that creepy grin has obviously doesn't count. Suddenly, though, he clutches his stomach and says he needs to use the bathroom. And I've got this bad feeling. When he gets back, she might be gone and things might spiral out of control. So he heads to the bathroom, washes his hands, dries them, and walks back out only to see a guy sitting there talking to her. He asks who it is and the guy turns around and bows. Kang hasn't picked up on it yet. He thinks the guy is just trying to hit on his sister, but she says something about it felt strange because the guy seemed to know who he was. Our boy's confused and she hands him a slip of paper saying the guy asked her to pass it along. He takes a look already suspicious. If the guy knew who he was, why did he walk away the second he saw him? But then his expression changes. The message is short. Just a casual hello from the bait guild's leader along the phone number, but the message couldn't have been clearer. Back home, they are walking in when his sister mentions she forgot to grab some beer. She wants to head out and buy some, but, of course, he says no. He'll go. She should stay put. At first, I thought he was heading out for revenge, but, no, he really just went to pick up the beer. Still on the way, his thoughts are racing, wondering what those bastards are planning. No way in hell of a trying to get close to his family. Maybe he should stop spending so much time in dungeons and stay home more often. Whatever their plan is, this one feels like the worst of all. Just then, his phone buzzes. It's a message from his dad. When he answers, his dad asks if he's at home. He tells him no, he's out. And that's when his dad tells him their mom just woke up. Our boy immediately wants to know how she's doing and breathes a huge sigh of relief knowing she's getting better. Then his dad adds one more thing, says a friend stopped by earlier. Now he's confused. What friend? And then his dad says it was that childhood buddy of his, Yue Hyan from the Bait Guild, who even asked to say hi and mentioned he lived nearby. Yeah, that shut our boy right up. His dad keeps calling out to him, but his face just freezes, his whole expression tightening up. Next day at the Talented Association, two girls are arriving, chatting about something when someone walks by and greets them with a good morning. They turn to the side and call out Miss Shinsi on he. Now that girl, she's tough, literally, and not the friendly kind of tough, more like a terrifying kind. She hands them some bottles. The girls thank her and she politely says it's nothing and takes off. They are left wondering why that lunatic is always wearing armor. The other girl says she's a bit eccentric, sure, but deep down, she's a good person. Still, she'd better get used to it. This world's full of weirdos. Compared to most, Shinsung has basically an angel reborn. The friend replies that she's dealt with plenty of oddball students. The other one says, yeah, those were probably the worst students she ever had. One of them crushed a girl's hand in a spa, and the other showed up to the front desk already throwing off major intimidation vibes. She still has nightmares about that kid. And look who's right there behind them, suddenly letting out a pulse of aura. She glances over and is staring right back. A glance, a stare, and just like that, the two girls scream in panic. Buddy just walks up to them looking completely harmless, calling out to them. Meanwhile, they are already pulling out their phones, getting ready to call the cops for help. One of them is completely red in the face. He asks her to calm down. He just wants to know where Mr. Kim Lee Hyun is. He needs to protect his family and is looking for this guy. They finally start to ease up a bit, realizing he's not trying to hurt anyone. One of them explains that Kim Lee Hyun was just working as a temporary instructor there but is not around anymore. Cut to a meeting room where Lee Hyun's giving a little presentation about how dungeon levels are rising. Then someone knocks on the door. He asks what's going on and the staff tells him there's some really strong guy in the lobby causing a scene, insisting he needs to speak with him. Lee Hyun's clearly confused, but next scene, they are already sitting face to face. He says he didn't expect to see him again so soon and asks what he needs help with. Ken gets right to the point. He wants to hire Lee Hyun. The guy chuckles, saying he appreciates the direct approach, but he'd like to hear the full story. Ken doesn't hold back. He says the bait guild is threatening his family and provoking him, and now he needs someone to guard them while he goes out and wipes the entire guild off the map. Lee Hyun is clearly shaken, asking what the hell is going on with this kid, but admits he knows how shady that guild is. The problem is the association hasn't been able to catch them red-handed. There's no solid justification to go after them officially. Kang says, well, then perfect. He'll destroy them all, and everyone wins. Lee Hyun just shakes his head saying Kang is as brutal as ever. What he really wants to know is, why him? It's not like he's the strongest out there, and besides, he's part of the Dangan Guild. Kang Han's logic is simple. He says Lee Hyun is just the strongest person he knows. That's it. Lee Hyun replies that he should have called Mr. Yosun instead. But, of course, our boy says there's no way he's trusting his family with that weird snake tongue creep. All he asks for is 1 week. If his family stays safe during that time, he'll pay big, like, serious money. But Lee Hyun says, look, not to brag, but he already makes more money than the kid probably thinks. On top of that, he's the vice leader of the Dangan Guild. If Kang wants him to take the job, he's gonna have to offer something more than just cash. And right then, Kang already has an idea. He asks if the guy is after his body. Hyun immediately snaps back, asking if he came here to make a deal or to tell jokes. Since he's sure the kid's only going to spout nonsense if left unchecked, he puts an offer on the table, not a huge one, but enough. If he helps our boy out for a week and in return, he'll have to agree to meet the guild master. Come on over, boss lady. Why is he so hyped about this madness? Of course, there's money involved too, but that part's up to Kang. He'll need to make sure it happens. Judging by how things are moving, it looks like he accepted. There are guards in front of the hospital now. 5 cameras installed, a private security company watching over his sister. They've got full tracking in place. Our boy says they're being extra cautious and Hyun replies that it's better to be safe than sorry. What Lee Hyun really wants to know, though, is whether Kang's seriously planning to handle the rest on his own, because here they are standing face to face with the Bait Guild headquarters. Looking from a distance, Kang comments that it doesn't look that big compared to others. Kang explains that, obviously, a guild's strength isn't measured by the size of their building. Bait's power comes from their control over multiple abnormal dungeons. No doubt they've got skilled players and they are backed by some rare items too. It seems like Kang's heading to a meeting with them, and, naturally, they are bringing out all their top firepower. Kang explains he didn't really have a choice. When he got that letter, he agreed to set a date, mostly just to buy time and stop them from going after his family. And at least it worked. He got enough time to lock down their safety. He then hands the car keys to the blonde guy who's confused and asks why he's being given this. Kang just tells him to park it back at his place. The guy's worried now, wondering if Kang's walking into a death trap. And, honestly, he's not entirely wrong. But Kang tells him he doesn't have time to explain. Tomorrow morning, he'll be alive and well. No doubt about it. With that, he gives a wave and heads off. Now here we are at the Bait Guild. And for an evil organization, their logo's surprisingly cute, pretty corporate looking even. That bastard, Yo Hyun, is there with arms wide open, welcoming him and surrounded by a crowd, obviously. Kang says that's a lot of people for a meeting that was supposed to be just the two of us. Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.